Welcome, weary traveler, to a gentle journey through the peaceful world of Animal Crossing. Tonight, we'll explore the hidden depths and quiet mysteries of a universe where friendship blooms eternal and every day brings small wonders. From the ancient origins of Tom Nook's empire to the cosmic significance of shooting stars, we'll uncover the lore that gives meaning to this tranquil realm. So settle into your favorite chair, let the soft glow of evening wash over you, and prepare to drift through islands where time moves slowly, and kindness is the only currency that truly matters. Close your eyes and let's begin. In the quiet corners of gaming history, where pixels have given way to memories and simple melodies have become the soundtracks to countless peaceful evenings, there exists a figure whose story begins not with grand ambitions or corporate dreams, but with the humble desire of a young Tanuki to make his way in a world far larger than the small community where he was born. Tom Nook's journey from wide-eyed dreamer to the patient architect of countless virtual neighborhoods is a tale that speaks to something deeper than business success. It is the story of someone who learned that true prosperity comes not from what we accumulate for ourselves, but from what we help others build. Long before Tom Nook became the friendly face greeting new residents with house keys and encouragement, he was simply a young Tanuki with dreams that stretched beyond the familiar boundaries of his woodland home. The city called to him with promises of opportunity and adventure, its distant lights twinkling like stars in his imagination as he planned his departure from the simple life he had always known. His journey to the metropolis was not unusual in its motivation. Countless young souls have felt that same magnetic pull towards something greater, something more complex and challenging than the quiet rhythms of small-town existence. Yet what made Tom Nook's story unique was not his ambition, but his heart. Even as he packed his few belongings and bid farewell to the trees and streams that had shaped his earliest years, there was something in his nature that remained fundamentally connected to the values of community and mutual support that had defined his upbringing. The city would test these values in ways he could never have anticipated, teaching him lessons about trust and betrayal that would eventually reshape not only his own life but the lives of countless others who would one day call him neighbor, landlord, and friend. The metropolis that welcomed Tom Nook was a place of endless possibility and equally endless complexity, where fortunes were made and lost with the turning of each day, and where relationships could shift as quickly as the wind that swept between the towering buildings. Here, he met another young entrepreneur whose ambitions seemed to mirror his own, a fox named Red, whose charm and confidence suggested a kindred spirit in the pursuit of success and recognition. Their friendship bloomed quickly in that urban environment, fed by shared dreams and the intoxicating energy of two young minds convinced they could conquer whatever challenges the world might present. For a time, their partnership seemed blessed by fortune itself. Tom Nook's natural instincts for customer service and genuine care for others complemented Red's more aggressive sales techniques and eye for valuable merchandise. Together, they built a small but thriving business that seemed to validate all their hopes about what they could accomplish when they combined their different strengths and worked toward common goals. The city had taught them both the language of commerce and competition, but their friendship remained rooted in something deeper than mere profit. Or so Tom Nook believed with the trusting heart that had followed him from his rural beginnings. But the urban world that had seemed so full of promise also harbored shadows that a trusting soul like Tom Nook was slow to recognize. The same competitive pressures that had initially energized their partnership began to create fault lines in their friendship as Red's approach to business grew increasingly ruthless and his willingness to cut corners became more pronounced. Where Tom Nook saw customers as individuals deserving of honest treatment and fair dealing, Red began to see them primarily as sources of profit to be maximized through whatever means proved most effective. The breaking point came not in a single dramatic confrontation, but through a series of small betrayals that accumulated like cracks in a foundation until the entire structure of their friendship could no longer support the weight of their fundamental differences. Red's willingness to sell questionable merchandise, to make promises he had no intention of keeping, and ultimately to prioritize short-term gains over long-term relationships created a chasm between them that no amount of shared history could bridge. For Tom Nook, who had built his entire understanding of business on the belief that success should be measured not just in bells but in the satisfaction and trust of those he served, the realization that his closest friend operated by entirely different principles was both professionally and personally devastating. The end of their partnership left Tom Nook not only alone in the vast city but profoundly disillusioned about the nature of ambition and the price of success. The dreams that had once seemed so clear and achievable now felt tainted by the knowledge of how easily good intentions could be corrupted by the relentless pressures of competition and the intoxicating appeal of quick profits. For a time, he considered abandoning his entrepreneurial aspirations entirely and returning to the simpler world he had left behind, where relationships were built on generations of mutual support and where a person's word was their most valuable possession. Yet it was precisely in this moment of greatest doubt that Tom Nook discovered the philosophical foundation that would guide the rest of his career and define his unique approach to business. Rather than allowing his betrayal to make him cynical about human nature and the possibilities for ethical commerce, he chose to see it as a lesson about the importance of maintaining one's values even when others choose to abandon theirs. The pain of Red's betrayal became the crucible in which Tom Nook forged a business philosophy that would prioritize long-term relationships over short-term profits, community building over individual accumulation, and patient guidance over aggressive sales tactics. When Tom Nook finally returned to smaller communities, it was not as the defeated dreamer some might have expected, but as someone who had learned to combine urban sophistication with rural values, business acumen with genuine care for others. His experiences had taught him that true success in commerce comes not from maximizing every transaction, but from creating conditions where everyone involved can thrive over time. This understanding would become the cornerstone of his approach to everything from home loans to daily customer interactions, transforming what could have been simple business relationships into something approaching extended family connections. The famous yes, yes, that punctuates Tom Nook's speech patterns is far more than a verbal tick or an attempt to appear agreeable. It represents his fundamental belief in the power of positive affirmation and patient encouragement. Having experienced firsthand how quickly doubt and suspicion can poison relationships, he made a conscious choice to approach every interaction with an assumption of good faith and a commitment to finding ways to help others achieve their goals. Each repetition of that phrase is a small act of faith in the basic goodness of those around him, and a reminder to himself that success is best measured by the success of the community as a whole. This philosophy extends naturally to Tom Nook's approach to home ownership and his seemingly unusual willingness to extend interest-free loans to complete strangers with no credit history and no collateral beyond their word. Critics have sometimes dismissed this practice as unrealistic or suggested that it reflects a naivety about human nature that would be unsustainable in the real world. Yet, from Tom Nook's perspective, these loans represent something far more sophisticated than simple generosity. They are investments in the kind of community relationships that create lasting prosperity for everyone involved. By making home ownership accessible to newcomers regardless of their financial background, Tom Nook creates conditions where people can put down roots and invest their time and energy in building something permanent rather than merely surviving from day to day. A person with a home has a stake in the community's future that goes beyond immediate self-interest, and someone who has been trusted with such a significant responsibility is more likely to prove worthy of that trust. The interest-free nature of the loans removes the predatory element that can make debt a source of stress and resentment, transforming what might otherwise be a purely transactional relationship into something approaching genuine partnership. Moreover, Tom Nook's patient approach to debt collection reflects his understanding that true prosperity cannot be built on a foundation of fear and anxiety. By refusing to pressure his debtors or impose punitive consequences for delayed payments, he creates an environment where people can focus on building their lives and contributing to their communities rather than constantly worrying about meeting arbitrary deadlines. This approach not only reduces the stress associated with home ownership, but actually increases the likelihood that debts will eventually be repaid, as people who feel supported and trusted are more motivated to honor their obligations than those who feel threatened or coerced. The bells that serve as currency in Tom Nook's world are themselves symbolic of his business philosophy in ways that extend far beyond their practical function as a medium of exchange. Unlike traditional currency, which derives its value primarily from scarcity and the ability to accumulate it for future use, bells in the Animal Crossing universe seem to flow more like a natural resource that can be replenished through patient activity and community participation. Trees literally grow money when properly tended. Fossils and fish can be transformed into currency through the simple act of sharing them with others, and even everyday activities like pulling weeds or helping neighbors can generate the resources needed for major purchases. This system reflects Tom Nook's belief that prosperity should be accessible to anyone willing to contribute positively to their community, rather than reserved for those who happen to possess certain advantages or are willing to exploit others. The abundance of opportunities to earn bells through honest work and community participation ensures that financial resources are never so scarce as to create desperate competition or force people into compromising their values for survival. Instead, the economy becomes a reflection of the community's collective health, where individual success is naturally aligned with the common good. The deeper wisdom embedded in Tom Nook's approach becomes most apparent when we consider how his business practices have influenced the broader culture of the communities where he operates. Villages and islands where Tom Nook has established his presence are consistently characterized by higher levels of cooperation, mutual support, and genuine contentment than might be expected from their modest size and simple economies. This is not coincidental, but rather the natural result of an economic system that rewards patience, encourages long-term thinking, and creates multiple opportunities for people to contribute meaningfully to something larger than themselves. Residents who might otherwise feel isolated or purposeless find themselves drawn into networks of mutual obligation and support that give meaning to their daily activities. The person who takes out a loan to expand their home becomes someone with a visible stake in the community's future. The neighbor who helps others find rare furniture or shares hybrid flowers becomes a valued resource whose success enhances everyone's quality of life. Even seemingly simple activities like maintaining attractive landscaping or participating in seasonal events contribute to a collective sense of pride and shared identity that strengthens the bonds holding the community together. Tom Nook's transformation from betrayed dreamer to patient community builder represents more than just one character's personal growth. It embodies a vision of how economic relationships could function if they were guided by wisdom rather than mere efficiency, by concern for long-term community health rather than short-term individual profit. His story suggests that the apparent choice between business success and ethical behavior is often a false dilemma, and that the most sustainable forms of prosperity are those that create value for everyone involved, rather than merely redistributing existing resources from one party to another. In this way, Tom Nook becomes more than just a friendly shopkeeper or helpful landlord. He becomes a living example of how individual healing from betrayal and disappointment can become the foundation for creating systems that protect others from experiencing similar harm. His patient "yes, yes" echoes across countless virtual communities as a reminder that affirmation and encouragement are not signs of weakness, but expressions of strength, and that the greatest business success comes not from what we can take from others, but from what we can help them build for themselves. The legacy of Tom Nook's philosophy extends far beyond the boundaries of any single game or virtual world, offering insights that speak to fundamental questions about how we structure our relationships with money, property, and each other. In a world where economic anxiety often drives people towards suspicion and competition, his example suggests alternative approaches based on abundance, trust, and mutual support. His story reminds us that the most profound changes often begin not with grand gestures or revolutionary manifestos, but with simple decisions to treat others with kindness and patience, even when we have every reason to be guarded and self-protective. And perhaps most importantly, Tom Nook's journey from heartbreak to wisdom offers hope that our own setbacks and betrayals need not define us or limit our capacity for creating positive change in the world around us. Sometimes the greatest gifts we can offer others are born not from our successes, but from our failures, transformed through reflection and compassion into wisdom that can light the way for those who follow in our footsteps. In the gentle rhythm of seasons turning and days flowing like water through cupped hands, there exists within the Animal Crossing universe a mystery so fundamental, yet so easily overlooked, that most residents go about their daily lives without ever questioning its deeper implications. Time itself moves differently in these peaceful communities, following patterns that seem to honor both the mechanical precision of clockwork and the organic wisdom of natural cycles, creating a temporal environment where patience becomes not merely a virtue, but the very foundation upon which all meaningful progress is built. The town clock that stands at the center of so many communities is far more than a simple timepiece marking the passage of hours and minutes. It serves as a physical manifestation of the unique relationship these worlds maintain with the flow of time itself. Unlike the relentless march of seconds in our everyday experience, where each moment disappears forever into the irretrievable past, time in Animal Crossing communities seems to breathe with the slower rhythms of agricultural seasons and natural growth, where the passage of days brings not anxiety about opportunities lost, but anticipation of organic development yet to come. This temporal philosophy becomes most apparent in the way seasons unfold across the landscape, with a deliberate pace that encourages observation and appreciation rather than hurried consumption of experience. Spring arrives not as a sudden transformation, but as a gradual awakening, where each day brings subtle changes in the color of tree buds, the frequency of rainfall, and the songs of birds returning from their winter journeys. The cherry blossoms that mark the season's peak bloom for exactly the right amount of time, neither so briefly that they feel rushed, nor so long that they lose their precious quality of transience. Summer stretches ahead with the patient generosity of long days and warm evenings, where the buzzing of cicadas creates a soundtrack for lazy afternoons spent fishing by the river or tending to gardens that respond to daily care with steady, visible growth. The season's length feels perfectly calibrated to allow for both energetic activity and peaceful contemplation, providing enough time for ambitious projects, while never creating the pressure to maximize every moment that characterizes so much of modern life. When autumn arrives with its parade of changing leaves and the soft melancholy of shorter days, the transition feels not like an ending, but like a natural evolution toward a different kind of beauty. The trees that have provided shade and fruit throughout the growing season now offer their final gift in the form of brilliant colors that remind every observer of the cyclical nature of all living things. The fallen leaves that carpet the ground serve not as reminders of death but as promises of renewal, rich with the potential to nurture new growth when the wheel of seasons turns again. Even winter, often seen as the most challenging season in other contexts, becomes in Animal Crossing communities a time of quiet reflection and gentle preparation for the return of active growth. Snow transforms familiar landscapes into scenes of crystalline beauty, while the shorter days encourage residents to spend more time indoors, strengthening bonds with neighbors and pursuing indoor hobbies that might be neglected during busier seasons. The apparent dormancy of winter gardens conceals the vital processes of rest and regeneration that make spring's eventual explosion of life possible. This seasonal wisdom extends beyond mere aesthetics to influence the very structure of how communities organize their collective life. Events and celebrations are timed to honor natural rhythms rather than arbitrary commercial calendars, creating a social calendar that feels organically connected to the world's natural cycles rather than imposed from outside. The Spring Flower Festival celebrates not just the beauty of blooms, but the return of life after winter's rest. Summer festivals honor the abundance and energy of the growing season. Autumn celebrations acknowledge both harvest gratitude and the approaching time of rest. The deeper spiritual significance of these temporal patterns becomes clear when we consider how they shape the consciousness and behavior of those who live within them. In a world where time moves with seasonal rather than digital precision, patience ceases to be a difficult virtue to cultivate and becomes instead a natural response to the rhythm of life itself. Goals that might seem impossibly distant when measured against the frantic pace of modern productivity become entirely achievable when approached with the understanding that meaningful growth happens gradually and organically. This temporal philosophy finds its most profound expression in the relationship between individual development and community growth, where personal progress is understood to be inseparable from the health and prosperity of the larger social environment. A resident who plants a fruit tree is not just investing in their own future harvests, but contributing to the landscape that will nurture and inspire others for years to come. The flowers that bloom outside someone's home beautify not just their own daily experience, but the paths that neighbors walk and the views that visitors enjoy. The concept of time travel, while mechanically possible within these worlds, carries with it subtle spiritual consequences that suggest the importance of living fully within the present moment, rather than constantly seeking to escape into some idealized future or past. Those who rush ahead to experience seasons before their appointed time often discover that the forced blooms lack the depth and satisfaction of flowers that open in their proper season. The fruit that ripens prematurely may feed the body, but cannot nourish the soul in the same way as harvests that come after patient cultivation and proper waiting. Similarly, attempts to retreat into past seasons often leave travelers feeling disconnected from the natural flow of community life, like visitors at a party where everyone else shares memories and experiences that the time traveler has chosen to miss. The relationships that form the heart of community life develop through shared experiences of seasonal changes, mutual support during challenging weather, and collective celebration of natural cycles. Those who step outside this temporal flow may gain certain advantages, but inevitably lose something more precious in the process. The role of holidays and seasonal events in maintaining temporal harmony cannot be understated, as these celebrations serve as communal anchors that help everyone remain connected to the natural rhythms that govern their shared world. Each festival or special event represents not just entertainment but a collective acknowledgement of time's passage and a shared commitment to marking important transitions together rather than experiencing them in isolation. The spring egg hunt celebrates renewal and new beginnings, with activities that bring residents together in playful cooperation. Summer fireworks festivals create shared moments of wonder and beauty that become treasured memories connecting community members across generations. Autumn harvest celebrations acknowledge both individual effort and collective abundance, while winter holiday traditions emphasize the importance of generosity and mutual care during the season, when natural abundance is least available. These celebrations derive their power not from elaborate productions or expensive displays, but from their ability to create moments when the entire community participates in acknowledging the passage of time and their shared place within. Natural cycles. The child who experiences their first seasonal festival and the longtime resident celebrating their 10th iteration of the same event both find meaning in the ritual, though their perspectives and understanding may be vastly different. This continuity across time and generations creates a sense of rootedness and belonging that transcends individual lifespans. The wisdom embedded in Animal Crossing's temporal philosophy extends to practical matters of daily life in ways that offer profound lessons about the relationship between time and happiness. Projects that might be rushed to completion in other contexts are allowed to develop naturally over weeks or months, with each stage of progress celebrated as a meaningful achievement rather than merely a step towards some distant goal. A resident who begins cultivating a perfect garden learns to find satisfaction in the daily tending rather than only in the eventual perfection, discovering that the journey toward beauty is itself beautiful when approached with proper patience. This understanding transforms the experience of debt and financial obligation from a source of stress into an opportunity for gradual, sustainable growth. Rather than feeling pressured to earn enough bells for major purchases immediately, residents learn to appreciate the satisfaction that comes from steady progress toward long-term goals. The bells earned through daily fishing or fruit harvesting accumulate naturally over time, creating a sense of abundance that comes not from sudden windfalls but from consistent, patient effort. The temporal environment also encourages a different relationship with material possessions, where the value of objects comes not from their rarity or cost, but from their connection to meaningful moments and seasonal memories. A piece of furniture crafted during autumn's crafting season carries with it the memory of golden leaves and cozy evenings. Clothing worn during a memorable festival becomes associated with the joy and community connection experienced during that celebration. Even common items gain significance through their association with particular times and seasons. This seasonal approach to value and meaning creates a natural resistance to the accumulation-focused mentality that can make material possessions feel like burdens rather than sources of joy. Instead of constantly seeking newer or more expensive items, residents learn to appreciate the deepening significance that comes from living with objects through multiple seasonal cycles, watching how a simple room transforms with changing light and seasonal decorations, finding new beauty in familiar spaces as the world outside shifts through its eternal dance of growth and rest. The connection between patience and wisdom becomes particularly clear in the way Animal Crossing communities handle unexpected events and challenges. When storms damage carefully tended landscapes or when favorite villagers announce their plans to move away, the natural response is not panic or desperate attempts to prevent change, but rather acceptance of life's cyclical nature and faith that time will bring new opportunities for growth and connection. This resilience comes not from stoic endurance, but from deep trust in the fundamental goodness of natural processes and the understanding that apparent losses often prepare the ground for unexpected gifts. Weather patterns in these communities serve as daily reminders of the complex relationship between human planning and natural forces, where the most carefully organized outdoor events may be transformed by unexpected rain into entirely different but equally meaningful experiences. Rather than seeing such changes as disruptions to be feared or controlled, residents learn to find beauty in spontaneity and to trust that flexibility and openness to change often lead to richer experiences than rigid adherence to predetermined plans. The spiritual dimension of temporal wisdom becomes most apparent in the way these communities handle the mystery of night and day, where the transition from sunlight to starlight is treated not as a mere change in lighting conditions, but as a daily invitation to experience different aspects of reality. The peaceful darkness brings its own gifts, nocturnal insects that can be found nowhere else, shooting stars that carry wishes into the cosmic vastness, and the quiet intimacy of lamplit homes where neighbors gather for evening conversations that feel different from their daytime counterparts. This cyclical understanding of time creates space for both active engagement and contemplative rest, where periods of intense activity during growing seasons are naturally balanced by quieter times that allow for reflection and renewal. Rather than treating rest as laziness or seasonal slowdowns as problems to be solved, these communities honor the wisdom that recognizes both action and repose as essential elements of a fully lived life. The deeper mystery of time in Animal Crossing worlds lies not in any supernatural mechanics, but in their ability to create environments where time feels abundant rather than scarce, where the pressure to maximize every moment gives way to the joy of experiencing each moment fully. In these gentle rhythms of seasonal change and daily cycle, residents discover that true prosperity comes not from racing against time, but from learning to move in harmony with its deeper patterns, finding in patience not a burden to be endured, but a doorway into wisdom that can transform the most ordinary moments into sources of lasting satisfaction and joy. In the quiet tapestry of community life that unfolds across Animal Crossing's peaceful neighborhoods, there exists a profound anthropological truth, disguised as simple game mechanics. The 8 distinct personality types that govern how residents interact, speak, and move through their daily lives represent nothing less than a complete taxonomy of human nature itself, distilled into archetypes that capture the essential patterns of how people relate to themselves, their communities, and the world around them. These personalities are not arbitrary categories created for mechanical convenience, but rather careful observations of the fundamental ways consciousness organizes itself in social environments, each type representing a different approach to the eternal questions of how to find meaning, create connection, and navigate the complex balance between individual expression and communal harmony. The peppy personality emerges like morning sunlight breaking through windows, radiating an enthusiasm so genuine and infectious that it transforms even the most mundane interactions into celebrations of possibility. Those blessed with this temperament see each new day as a canvas painted with unlimited potential, their conversations peppered with exclamation points and their movements animated by an energy that seems to draw directly from some inexhaustible well of optimism. Yet beneath this surface enthusiasm lies something far more profound than mere cheerfulness, a spiritual commitment to the belief that life is fundamentally good, that challenges are opportunities in disguise, and that the proper response to existence is gratitude expressed through active engagement with whatever the day might bring. When a peppy villager greets the dawn with excited chatter about new fashion trends or plans for redecorating, they are not simply displaying shallow materialism, but rather demonstrating a philosophy that finds the sacred within the everyday, that sees in personal expression and environmental beauty reflections of the deeper creative forces that animate all existence. Their interest in clothing and furniture stems from an understanding that the objects with which we surround ourselves become extensions of our inner selves, and that taking care in how we present ourselves to the world is a form of respect both for others and for the mysterious gift of consciousness itself. The normal personality type provides the steady heartbeat around which community life organizes itself, embodying the wisdom that recognizes extraordinary beauty in ordinary routines and finding profound satisfaction in the reliable rhythms of daily existence. Those who carry this temperament serve as anchors for more volatile personalities, their consistent kindness and genuine interest in others creating safe spaces where deeper relationships can develop naturally over time. Their conversations may seem unremarkable to casual observers, filled with gentle inquiries about daily activities and warm observations about seasonal changes. Yet within this apparent simplicity lies a sophisticated understanding of how communities actually function. Normal villagers possess an intuitive grasp of the truth that lasting happiness comes not from dramatic peaks of experience, but from the accumulated satisfaction of countless small moments of connection and care. When they ask about your day or comment on the flowers blooming near your home, they are performing the essential social work of weaving individual experiences into the larger fabric of communal life. Their consistency becomes a form of generosity, providing others with the predictable foundation of acceptance and interest that allows for risk-taking and growth in other areas of life. The lazy personality presents one of the most misunderstood archetypes in the community ecosystem, as their love of rest and simple pleasures often masks a profound philosophical sophistication about the relationship between effort and contentment. These individuals have discovered something that eludes many more obviously ambitious types: the secret of finding deep satisfaction in life's most basic experiences, the ability to be fully present in moments of rest rather than constantly planning for future achievements or worrying about past mistakes. When a lazy villager speaks about the perfect nap or the ideal sandwich, they are not simply displaying a lack of motivation, but rather articulating a worldview that values being overdoing, that recognizes the profound wisdom available in moments of stillness and receptivity. Their apparent lack of conventional ambition often conceals a spiritual maturity that understands the difference between meaningful activity and mere busyness, between growth that serves authentic development and striving that stems from anxiety or social pressure. The jock personality brings to community life the energy of someone who has discovered that physical challenges can become pathways to transcendence, that the disciplined pursuit of bodily excellence opens doorways to mental and spiritual development that cannot be accessed through purely intellectual means. Their enthusiasm for fitness and competition reflects not shallow vanity, but rather a deep understanding that consciousness and physicality are inseparably intertwined, that caring for the body becomes a form of honoring the miraculous gift of embodied existence. Yet the true wisdom of the jock archetype lies not in their obvious strength or athletic ability, but in their intuitive grasp of how personal discipline creates freedom rather than limitation. Their daily routines of exercise and healthy living demonstrate the profound truth that commitment to challenging practices increases rather than decreases life satisfaction, that the temporary discomfort of pushing physical limits opens access to states of vitality and well-being that make every other aspect of life more vivid and enjoyable. The cranky personality serves as the community's repository of earned wisdom, carrying within their gruff exterior the accumulated insights of someone who has lived long enough to see through surface appearances and cultural pretensions to the underlying truths that govern how life actually works. Their apparent negativity often masks a fierce protectiveness toward what they have learned to value through experience, and their criticism usually stems not from meanness but from genuine concern for those who seem headed toward unnecessary difficulties. When a cranky villager complains about modern music or questions the wisdom of some popular trend, they are performing the essential social function of providing alternative perspectives and challenging assumptions that might otherwise go unexamined. Their resistance to change reflects not rigidity, but rather a hard-earned understanding of which changes represent genuine improvement and which merely represent novelty disguised as progress. Their friendship, once earned through patience and genuine respect, becomes a source of guidance that can save others from mistakes they might otherwise have to learn through painful experience. The snooty personality embodies the pursuit of excellence and refinement as spiritual disciplines, understanding that the cultivation of taste and aesthetic sensitivity represents a pathway toward deeper appreciation of life's more subtle pleasures. Their interest in luxury and sophistication stems not from shallow materialism, but from recognition that beauty and quality, properly understood, connect us to dimensions of experience that transcend mere functionality or convenience. The apparent arrogance that characterizes this personality type often conceals a profound vulnerability, the fear that their deep appreciation for beauty and excellence will be misunderstood or dismissed by others who have not developed similar sensitivities. Their standards, which can seem impossibly high to more casual observers, represent not snobbery, but rather the natural result of having experienced the difference between mediocrity and true quality, between things that merely function and things that elevate the spirit through their beauty and craftsmanship. The smug personality presents perhaps the most complex archetype in the social ecosystem, combining genuine sophistication with a tendency toward intellectual pride that can create barriers to deeper connection, even as it demonstrates impressive knowledge and cultural awareness. Those who embody this type often possess remarkable insights about art, literature, and philosophy, their conversations peppered with references and observations that reveal extensive learning and genuine appreciation for human achievement in its highest forms. Yet the challenge that defines the smug archetype lies in learning to share their knowledge and insights in ways that invite others into appreciation rather than creating feelings of inadequacy or exclusion. Their tendency to assume others share their cultural references or background knowledge often stems not from deliberate condescension, but from genuine enthusiasm for subjects they find endlessly fascinating, and from difficulty imagining that others might not have had access to similar educational opportunities. The Uchi personality, known for its sisterly combination of toughness and tenderness, represents the archetype of someone who has learned to navigate life's challenges without losing their capacity for genuine warmth and loyalty. These individuals possess a rare combination of street smarts and emotional intelligence, able to offer both practical guidance and heartfelt support to those they care about. Their informal speech patterns and direct communication style reflect not a lack of sophistication, but rather a commitment to authenticity over social pretense, to substance over surface appearances. What makes the Uchi personality particularly valuable in community settings is their ability to bridge different social groups and personality types, their natural inclusiveness, creating spaces where others feel free to be themselves without judgment or pretense. They serve as translators between the more refined sensibilities of snooty types and the casual approaches of lazy or jock personalities, helping everyone feel valued for their unique contributions to the community's overall health and vitality. The deeper significance of these 8 personality types becomes clear when we consider how they interact and complement each other in the complex dance of community life. No single type contains all the wisdom necessary for creating a truly thriving social environment, but together they form a complete spectrum of human responses to the challenges and opportunities that life presents. The peppy villager's enthusiasm needs the cranky villager's caution, just as the normal type's stability provides ground for the snooty type's refinement, and the jock's discipline balances the lazy type's contentment. This interdependence creates natural opportunities for growth and learning, as residents find themselves drawn into conversations and activities that challenge their habitual ways of thinking and being. The lazy villager who befriends a jock may discover previously unknown reserves of energy and motivation, while the cranky villager who spends time with peppy types may rediscover joy in simple pleasures they had forgotten how to appreciate. The role of catchphrases in this personality ecosystem represents far more than mere linguistic decoration. These repeated expressions serve as verbal signatures that both identify and reinforce each individual's unique approach to life. When a peppy villager punctuates every sentence with "like," "totally," or a cranky type mutters "dagnabbit" under their breath, they are not simply following programmed speech patterns, but rather expressing through language the fundamental attitudes and assumptions that shape their experience of reality. These catchphrases become particularly meaningful when they spread through communities, as residents begin to adopt each other's expressions in moments of particular connection or shared experience. A normally reserved snooty villager who starts using a peppy friend's enthusiastic catchphrase is demonstrating through language their openness to new ways of being in the world, while a jock who picks up a lazy villager's relaxed expression may be learning to value rest and contemplation alongside physical achievement. The transient nature of village residence patterns adds another layer of philosophical depth to the personality system, as the coming and going of different types creates ever-shifting community dynamics that prevent any single approach to life from becoming too dominant or entrenched. The departure of a beloved villager creates space for new personalities and perspectives, ensuring that communities continue to evolve and grow rather than becoming stagnant or overly homogeneous. This constant gentle change teaches profound lessons about attachment and letting go, about finding the balance between forming meaningful connections and maintaining the flexibility to adapt to new circumstances. The pain that comes from saying goodbye to favorite villagers is real and valid, but it is balanced by the excitement of meeting new personalities and discovering previously unknown aspects of community life through different combinations of types and temperaments. The friendship levels that develop between residents and these personality archetypes represent not arbitrary game mechanics, but rather accurate reflections of how real relationships deepen over time through consistent positive interaction and mutual support. The early stages of friendship, marked by basic politeness and surface-level conversation, gradually give way to more personal exchanges as trust develops and individuals become comfortable sharing their true thoughts and feelings. The highest levels of friendship unlock not just different dialogue options, but access to the deeper wisdom and authentic personality that each archetype carries beneath their surface characteristics. A cranky villager who initially seems gruff and unwelcoming may eventually reveal themselves to be deeply caring and protective, while a snooty type who appears aloof may share intimate thoughts about beauty and meaning that demonstrate profound sensitivity and vulnerability. These deepening friendships serve as mirrors for personal growth, showing us aspects of ourselves that we might not have recognized, and offering opportunities to develop qualities that our own personality type might not naturally emphasize. The lazy villager who learns discipline from a jock friend, the peppy type who discovers the value of solitude from a cranky mentor, or the normal villager who develops aesthetic appreciation through time spent with snooty companions. All these relationships become vehicles for the kind of balanced development that no single personality type can achieve in isolation. Special villagers who fall outside the standard 8-type system often serve as bridges between the community and larger mysteries, their unique personalities and roles, highlighting the truth that diversity and individual uniqueness are essential ingredients in any truly thriving social environment. These characters remind us that while archetypes provide useful frameworks for understanding human nature, they cannot capture the full complexity and wonder of consciousness as it manifests in actual individuals. The deeper gift of Animal Crossing's personality system lies not in its ability to categorize or predict behavior, but in its demonstration of how apparent differences between people often mask complementary strengths and wisdom that can enrich everyone's experience when approached with patience and genuine interest. Each personality type represents not a limitation but a doorway into a particular way of being fully human, a specific pathway toward contributing something unique and valuable to the larger tapestry of community life. In recognizing these patterns and learning to appreciate the gifts that each type brings to shared experience, residents develop the kind of social wisdom that transforms collections of individuals into genuine communities. Groups of people who understand that their differences make them stronger, that their various approaches to life's challenges create more solutions than any single perspective could generate alone, and that the art of living well requires not the elimination of personality differences, but rather the patient cultivation of relationships that honor and celebrate the beautiful diversity of human consciousness in all its myriad expressions. Beyond the gentle chiming of bells that accompanies every transaction and the cheerful exchanges of currency that punctuate daily life in Animal Crossing communities, lies a profound economic philosophy that challenges some of the most fundamental assumptions about wealth, value, and prosperity that govern modern society. The Happy Home Academy, that mysterious organization whose representatives arrive unannounced to evaluate domestic arrangements and offer commentary on aesthetic choices, serves not merely as an arbiter of interior design taste, but as the embodiment of a revolutionary understanding about the relationship between material possessions and human well-being, one that suggests true prosperity cannot be measured simply by accumulation, but must be evaluated according to how successfully our physical environment supports our deeper needs for beauty, harmony, and authentic self-expression. The Academy's scoring system, while sometimes appearing arbitrary or overly focused on conventional notions of luxury and coordination, actually operates according to principles that reflect genuine insights into environmental psychology and the ways physical spaces influence consciousness and emotional states. When evaluators award points for color coordination or deduct them for cluttered arrangements, they are responding to something deeper than mere aesthetic preference. They are recognizing the profound truth that our external environment inevitably shapes our internal experience, that space is organized according to principles of harmony and intentionality, support mental clarity and emotional balance in ways that chaotic or thoughtless arrangements simply cannot match. The emphasis placed on themed rooms and coordinated furniture sets speaks to an understanding that meaning emerges not from individual objects, but from relationships between elements, that a carefully curated environment tells a story about its inhabitants' values, interests, and aspirations in ways that random collections of expensive items never can. A modest room arranged with genuine care and attention to how different pieces work together creates a sense of peace and satisfaction that far exceeds what might be achieved through the mere accumulation of rare or costly furnishings, without regard to their harmony with each other or appropriateness to their setting. This philosophy extends to the Academy's recognition of seasonal appropriateness and cultural sensitivity in home decoration, acknowledging that true style emerges not from rigid adherence to abstract principles, but from responsiveness to natural cycles and local customs. A home that changes its character with the turning of seasons demonstrates not indecision, but rather a sophisticated understanding that living spaces should breathe with the same rhythms that govern the natural world, that authenticity requires adaptation to context, rather than blind consistency across all circumstances. The debt system that governs major purchases and home expansions in Animal Crossing represents perhaps the most radical departure from conventional economic thinking, transforming what is typically one of life's greatest sources of stress and anxiety into an opportunity for gradual, sustainable growth that actually enhances rather than diminishes quality of life. Tom Nook's willingness to extend interest-free loans without collateral or credit checks reflects not naive business practices, but rather a profound understanding that true economic security comes not from protecting lenders against risk, but from creating conditions where borrowers can thrive and contribute positively to their communities. The absence of interest payments removes the coercive element that makes conventional debt a source of fear and resentment, transforming the relationship between lender and borrower from one of potential antagonism into something approaching genuine partnership. Without the pressure of accumulating interest charges, residents can focus their energy on building their lives and contributing to their communities rather than constantly calculating minimum payments and worrying about financial ruin. This creates a psychological environment where debt becomes associated with opportunity and growth rather than obligation and constraint. The patient approach to debt collection, where no penalties are imposed for delayed payments and no pressure is applied to accelerate repayment schedules, reflects an understanding that forcing people to prioritize financial obligations over personal well-being ultimately serves no one's long-term interests. A resident who feels stressed and anxious about mortgage payments is less likely to invest time and energy in community activities, less likely to develop the skills and relationships that make for lasting prosperity, and more likely to make desperate decisions that could harm both themselves and others. By removing these sources of financial anxiety, the Animal Crossing economic system creates space for what might be called prosperity consciousness, a mental state where abundance feels accessible through patient effort rather than desperate striving, where long-term thinking becomes natural because short-term survival is never in question, and where individual success feels aligned with rather than competitive with the success of others. This consciousness shift has profound implications for how people approach not just financial decisions but all aspects of life, encouraging the kind of generous, long-term thinking that builds strong communities and sustainable prosperity. The role of public works projects in the economic ecosystem demonstrates how individual financial contributions can be transformed into collective goods that benefit everyone, while creating a sense of shared ownership and pride in community infrastructure. When residents pool their resources to build bridges, fountains, or other civic improvements, they are not simply purchasing amenities, but investing in the kind of shared environment that makes individual prosperity more meaningful and sustainable. These projects require not just financial contributions, but community consensus and ongoing maintenance, creating opportunities for residents to practice the skills of democratic decision-making and collective responsibility that are essential for any thriving society. The bridge that connects two parts of town becomes more than mere infrastructure. It becomes a symbol of the community's ability to work together toward common goals, a physical manifestation of the social bonds that hold the neighborhood together. The turnip market introduces into this otherwise stable economic environment an element of uncertainty and speculation that serves as both practical education in risk management and philosophical reflection on the role of chance in human affairs. Unlike the predictable earnings available through fishing, fruit harvesting, or fossil hunting, turnip investment requires residents to make decisions based on incomplete information and accept outcomes that may not match their expectations or efforts. Yet even this venture into market speculation operates according to principles that prioritize learning and community connection over pure profit maximization. The weekly cycle of turnip prices creates natural opportunities for neighbors to share information, advice, and mutual support, transforming what could be a purely individual pursuit into another form of social interaction. Residents learn to celebrate each other's successes without feeling diminished by comparison, and to offer comfort during losses without feeling superior or judgmental. The unpredictability of turnip prices also serves as a gentle reminder that not all aspects of life can be controlled through planning and effort alone, that wisdom sometimes requires accepting uncertainty rather than constantly seeking to eliminate it through more sophisticated strategies or better information. The resident who learns to invest only what they can afford to lose, who finds satisfaction in the process regardless of outcomes, discovers something profound about the relationship between attachment and suffering that extends far beyond financial markets. The abundance of opportunities to earn bells through honest work and community participation creates an economic environment where financial resources never become so scarce as to force residents into compromising their values or competing destructively with their neighbors. Trees that literally grow money when properly cared for serve as powerful symbols of how patient attention to living systems generates more sustainable prosperity than extractive approaches that prioritize short-term gains over long-term health. The fact that fossil hunting, fishing, and bug catching all provide reliable sources of income means that every resident has access to dignified work that contributes positively to community knowledge and culture through museum donations, while also meeting personal financial needs. This eliminates the desperation that drives much economic exploitation and abuse, creating conditions where work can be chosen based on interest and aptitude, rather than mere survival necessity. Even the most mundane activities like pulling weeds or picking up trash generate small financial rewards, reflecting an understanding that maintaining community environments is valuable work that deserves recognition and compensation. This approach transforms what might otherwise feel like thankless chores into meaningful contributions to collective well-being, while ensuring that every resident can participate in the economic life of the community regardless of their particular skills or physical capabilities. The museum's role in the economic ecosystem represents a fascinating integration of cultural and financial values, where objects gain significance not just through their rarity or market price, but through their contribution to collective knowledge and appreciation. The choice between selling valuable specimens for immediate profit or donating them to the museum for permanent display becomes a daily exercise in considering different forms of value and different definitions of wealth. Residents who choose donation over sale often discover that the satisfaction derived from contributing to a permanent collection that educates and inspires others far exceeds the temporary pleasure of increased spending power. The museum becomes a visible representation of the community's collective wisdom and curiosity, a space where individual contributions accumulate into something greater than the sum of their parts. The fossil skeleton that emerges gradually through multiple donations tells a story that no single find could convey, just as the insect collection that spans all seasons demonstrates natural diversity that individual specimens cannot capture alone. This dynamic teaches profound lessons about legacy and meaning, showing how individual choices to prioritize collective good over personal gain create lasting value that benefits not just current residents, but future generations who will visit the museum and learn from its collections. The bells foregone through donation are replaced by something more durable and ultimately more satisfying: the knowledge that one's efforts have contributed to the permanent enrichment of community life. The relationship between rare items and personal satisfaction reveals another layer of the economic philosophy that governs these communities, where scarcity creates value not through artificial restriction, but through the genuine effort required to obtain desired objects. The rare furniture piece obtained through patient saving or fortunate discovery carries significance not just because others cannot easily obtain it, but because its acquisition represents personal dedication and often community support through information sharing or direct assistance. This approach to luxury and exclusivity avoids the resentment and envy that characterize many economic systems by ensuring that rare items are obtained through effort and patience rather than inherited advantage or exploitation of others. The resident who saves for months to purchase an expensive piece of furniture has earned it in ways that create genuine satisfaction and appreciation, while those who witness the purchase understand that similar rewards are available to them through similar dedication. The gift-giving that occurs naturally within these communities operates according to principles that prioritize relationship building and mutual support over strict reciprocity or transaction-based exchange. Residents regularly give each other furniture, clothing, or decorative items, not because they expect equivalent returns, but because they understand intuitively that generosity creates abundance rather than scarcity, that communities where people freely share with each other are richer in all the ways that matter most than those organized around hoarding and competitive accumulation. This culture of giving transforms material objects from possessions to be guarded into tools for expressing care and building connection with others. The piece of furniture given to a new neighbor becomes a welcome gift that helps them feel integrated into the community. The rare flower shared with a friend demonstrates attention to their interests and investment in their happiness. Even small gifts like fruit or crafted items carry meanings that far exceed their material value, serving as tangible expressions of the intangible bonds that hold communities together. The seasonal availability of different items and activities creates natural rhythms of anticipation and satisfaction that prevent the economic system from becoming stale or overly focused on accumulation for its own sake. The furniture sets that appear only during specific months, the clothing that changes with seasons, and the special items available during festivals all serve to keep residents engaged with the present moment, rather than constantly focused on some imagined future state of perfect completion. This temporal dimension of the economy teaches important lessons about contentment and appreciation, showing how artificial scarcity through seasonal availability can actually enhance rather than diminish satisfaction with material possessions. The winter coat that cannot be obtained during summer feels more precious when the cold season arrives, while the spring flowers that bloom only briefly carry special significance because their beauty cannot be taken for granted or accumulated indefinitely. The integration of economic activity with social interaction ensures that financial transactions never become purely mechanical exchanges, but remain embedded in the web of relationships that give community life its meaning and vitality. The bells paid for items purchased from neighbors come with conversations, stories, and expressions of gratitude that transform commerce into communion. The services provided through public works projects require consultation and collaboration that strengthen democratic participation and collective decision-making capabilities. In this way, the economic system serves not as an end in itself, but as a means for creating the kinds of relationships and experiences that make life rich and meaningful. Prosperity is measured not just by accumulation of wealth, but by the depth of community connection, the beauty of shared spaces, the satisfaction of meaningful work, and the security that comes from knowing one's basic needs will always be met through honest effort and community support. This holistic approach to economics offers profound lessons for thinking about wealth and poverty, work and leisure, individual ambition and collective responsibility in ways that suggest possibilities for organizing human societies around principles of mutual care rather than competitive accumulation, abundance rather than artificial scarcity, and long-term flourishing rather than short-term extraction. In the gentle chiming of bells and the patient accumulation of community wealth, we hear echoes of economic possibilities that honor both individual creativity and collective well-being, showing us glimpses of what prosperity might look like when it serves life rather than demanding that life serve it. In the sacred geometry of landscapes that unfold across Animal Crossing communities, where every tree stands as a living pillar in nature's cathedral, and every flower blooms according to patterns that echo the deepest mathematical principles governing creation itself, there exists a wisdom so ancient and fundamental that it predates human language, yet speaks directly to something primal in our souls. The understanding that the natural world operates not through random chance or chaotic accident, through elegant systems of growth, relationship, and renewal that reveal themselves to those patient enough to observe and humble enough to learn from what they witness. The trees that grace these peaceful settlements serve as more than mere decoration or sources of fruit and shade. They stand as monuments to the profound mystery of how life organizes itself in space and time, each trunk representing years of patient growth, each branch reaching toward light according to principles that govern not only botanical development, but the deepest patterns of consciousness itself. The oak trees that spread their generous canopies over town squares, and the cedar trees that mark seasonal transitions with their evergreen constancy, demonstrate how different forms of life find their unique ways of contributing to the larger ecosystem while maintaining their individual character and purpose. The fruit trees that bear apples, oranges, pears, peaches, and cherries according to the particular heritage of each community carry within their genetic patterns stories that span generations and continents, each variety representing not just different flavors and colors, but different approaches to the fundamental challenge of transforming sunlight, water, and soil nutrients into sustenance that can nourish other forms of life. The sweetness of a perfectly ripe peach contains within it the accumulated sunshine of an entire growing season, while the tartness of a fresh apple reflects the particular balance of minerals and moisture that characterize the soil from which it emerged. The mystery of why different communities bear different native fruits speaks to something deeper than mere horticultural variety. It suggests that place itself has character and intention, that the earth responds to the particular combination of climate, geography, and spiritual energy that defines each location by offering the forms of nourishment most appropriate to those who choose to make their homes there. The tropical islands that produce coconuts and the temperate valleys that yield apples are not accidents of seed dispersal, but expressions of how life adapts itself to local conditions while maintaining connection to universal patterns of growth and renewal. This understanding transforms the simple act of planting a tree into a profound gesture of faith in the future, and commitment to the well-being of generations yet unborn. The resident who carefully selects a location for a new sapling, who tends it through its vulnerable early years and protects it from damage, is participating in one of humanity's oldest and most meaningful rituals. The cultivation of relationships with living systems that will outlast individual lifespans and provide benefits that extend far beyond immediate personal needs. The placement of trees within community landscapes follows principles that speak to both practical wisdom and aesthetic harmony, creating natural, gathering spaces where residents can find shade during hot summers and wind protection during cold winters, while also establishing visual rhythms that guide movement through the environment and create a sense of coherent design. The grove of fruit trees planted near the town centre invites daily interaction and creates opportunities for spontaneous encounters, while the solitary oak positioned on a hilltop serves as a landmark that helps orient travellers and a destination for quiet contemplation. These spatial relationships between trees and other landscape elements reveal the deeper truth that beauty emerges not from individual objects, but from the harmonious relationships between different components of a living system. The tree that stands alone in an open field draws attention to its own magnificent form, while the same tree surrounded by complementary plantings becomes part of a larger composition that speaks to principles of balance, proportion, and natural rhythm that satisfy something deep in human consciousness. The flowers that grace Animal Crossing communities operate according to genetic principles that mirror some of the most profound mysteries of inheritance, diversity, and creative evolution that govern all living systems. The hybrid flowers that emerge from careful breeding programs demonstrate how patient attention to natural processes can lead to unexpected beauty, as parents with different characteristics combine their genetic heritage to produce offspring that embody new combinations of color, form, and sometimes entirely novel traits that surpass what either parent could achieve alone. The purple roses that emerge from crossing red and white varieties carry within their petals not just unique pigmentation, but the story of how diversity creates strength, how apparent opposites can combine to produce something more beautiful than either could achieve in isolation. The blue flowers that appear only through complex breeding chains, requiring multiple generations and careful attention to genetic compatibility, teach profound lessons about how the most remarkable achievements often require patience, planning, and willingness to work with natural processes, rather than trying to force immediate results. This genetic dimension of flower cultivation speaks to fundamental questions about identity, heritage, and the relationship between individual characteristics and family lineage that extend far beyond horticulture into the realm of human relationships and community development. The garden where multiple generations of carefully bred flowers display their inherited traits becomes a living laboratory for understanding how qualities pass from parents to children, how new possibilities emerge through combination and recombination, and how beauty often lies not in purity, but in the creative mixing of different influences and traditions. The seasonal cycles that govern flower blooming and seed production create natural rhythms of anticipation and fulfillment that connect gardening activities to the larger temporal patterns that organize all life on Earth. The spring bulbs that emerge from winter's apparent death demonstrate the miracle of dormancy and renewal, while summer annuals that bloom intensely for brief periods teach lessons about making the most of limited time and favorable conditions. The perennials that return year after year with increasing strength and beauty offer different wisdom about persistence, patient accumulation of resources, and the rewards that come to those who commit to long-term relationships with particular places and practices. The gardener, who tends the same flower beds through multiple seasons, learns to read the subtle signs that indicate changing needs, to anticipate problems before they become serious, and to appreciate the ways that apparently static gardens actually change constantly in response to weather, soil conditions, and the accumulated effects of careful tending. The rivers that flow through Animal Crossing communities serve as arteries of life that connect different regions, while providing habitat for fish, irrigation for plants, and peaceful sounds that create natural meditation spaces for contemplative residents. The gentle babbling of water over stones speaks to something primal in human consciousness, evoking memories of evolutionary origins near water sources, while providing acoustic environments that naturally calm nervous systems and encourage reflective states of mind. The bridges that span these waterways represent not just practical solutions to transportation challenges, but symbols of how human creativity can enhance rather than damage natural systems when approached with proper respect and understanding. The wooden bridges that arch gracefully over flowing streams demonstrate how constructed elements can complement natural beauty rather than competing with it, creating viewing platforms that allow residents to appreciate the water's movement and the life it supports, while providing safe passage that protects both travelers and aquatic ecosystems. The placement of these bridges reveals sophisticated understanding of how landscape design can influence human behavior and community interaction, creating natural gathering points where residents encounter each other during daily travels, while establishing visual focal points that organize perception of the larger environment. The bridge, positioned to offer views of waterfalls or particularly beautiful stretches of river, becomes a destination in its own right, transforming utilitarian infrastructure into opportunities for aesthetic appreciation and social connection. The pathways that connect different areas of communities follow principles of movement and flow that echo the organic patterns found in natural systems, avoiding the harsh geometries of purely functional design in favor of curves and gradual transitions that feel harmonious with the surrounding landscape. These walking paths serve as more than mere transportation networks. They become pilgrimage routes that guide residents through daily journeys of discovery, exercise, and contemplation, while creating opportunities to observe seasonal changes, encounter neighbors, and maintain connection with the natural world. The materials used for path construction reflect different philosophical approaches to the relationship between human needs and environmental harmony, with natural stone pathways that weather gracefully over time, suggesting commitment to long-term beauty over short-term convenience, while brick or tile surfaces that require more maintenance but offer greater durability speak to different values regarding the balance between effort invested and benefits received. The width and directness of these pathways influence how quickly residents move through different areas and how likely they are to pause for conversation or contemplation, with narrow, winding paths encouraging leisurely exploration, while broader, more direct routes facilitate efficient movement between frequently visited locations. The designer who understands these subtle influences can shape community life through landscape choices that either encourage or discourage different types of interaction and activity. Weather patterns in these communities operate as more than mere atmospheric phenomena. They serve as daily reminders of the larger forces that govern all earthly existence, while providing variety and meaning to seasonal experiences that might otherwise become monotonous or taken for granted. The rain that nourishes gardens and fills rivers carries within each drop the memory of oceans, clouds, and the vast circulation systems that connect every place on Earth to every other place through the endless cycling of water between Earth and sky. The storms that occasionally interrupt perfect weather serve important ecological and psychological functions, clearing the air of accumulated dust and tension while providing dramatic displays of natural power that humble human pretensions and remind everyone of their place within larger systems they cannot control. The resident who learns to find beauty in thunderstorms rather than seeing them only as inconveniences discovers something profound about acceptance, adaptation, and the wisdom of working with natural forces rather than constantly trying to oppose them. The clear nights that follow storms often provide the most spectacular displays of stars, as if the atmosphere has been washed clean to allow maximum clarity for celestial observation. This connection between earthly weather and cosmic visibility suggests the deep interconnectedness of all natural systems, the way local conditions reflect and respond to universal patterns that operate on scales both vast and intimate. The seasonal changes in daylight length and quality create natural rhythms of activity and rest that help residents stay connected to biological cycles that urban living often obscures or disrupts. The long, bright days of summer encourage outdoor activities and social gatherings, while shorter winter days naturally promote indoor pursuits and more contemplative activities that balance periods of external focus with necessary internal development. These lighting changes affect not just human behavior, but the appearance and mood of familiar landscapes, transforming the same physical spaces into different emotional and aesthetic experiences depending on the time of day and season. The garden that appears cheerful and energetic in morning sunshine may become mysterious and romantic in evening shadows, while winter's low-angle light can reveal architectural details and spatial relationships that remain hidden during other seasons. The snow that transforms familiar landscapes into scenes of pristine beauty serves multiple functions beyond mere visual appeal, providing insulation for dormant plants while creating opportunities for winter activities and contemplation that would be impossible during warmer seasons. The silence that accompanies heavy snowfall creates acoustic environments where small sounds become amplified and attention naturally turns inward, making winter a season particularly conducive to reflection, planning, and the kind of deep thinking that requires freedom from external distractions. The relationship between natural beauty and mental well-being becomes particularly apparent during these seasonal transitions, as residents who pay attention to changing light, temperature, and vegetation often report corresponding shifts in mood, energy levels, and creative inspiration. This connection suggests that human consciousness remains fundamentally linked to natural cycles, despite modern attempts to create artificial environments that ignore or override seasonal rhythms. The gardens that residents create within this larger natural framework serve as personal expressions of aesthetic values, while contributing to the overall harmony and beauty of shared community spaces. The flower beds planted near home entrances welcome visitors while expressing something essential about the inhabitants' personalities and priorities, whether they prefer formal arrangements that demonstrate careful planning or wilder combinations that suggest spontaneous creativity and comfort with natural unpredictability. The vegetable gardens that some residents maintain alongside ornamental plantings demonstrate integration of practical and aesthetic concerns, showing how food production can enhance rather than detract from landscape beauty when approached with proper attention to color, texture, and seasonal succession. The tomato plants that provide fresh fruit for summer meals also contribute red and green colors to garden palettes, while herb gardens offer both culinary resources and fragrant additions to outdoor spaces. The composting areas where organic waste transforms into rich soil amendments represent perhaps the most profound expression of ecological wisdom available to individual residents, demonstrating how apparent waste products can become valuable resources when processed through natural systems of decay and renewal. The gardener who learns to see fallen leaves and kitchen scraps not as disposal problems but as inputs for soil improvement gains insight into circular thinking that can transform approaches to consumption and waste in all areas of Tomant life. This understanding of natural cycles and regenerative processes provides foundation for developing what might be called ecological consciousness, awareness of how individual choices affect larger systems, and recognition that human well-being depends ultimately on the health of the natural world that supports all life. The resident who experiences daily connection with plants, soil, water, and weather through gardening activities develops intuitive understanding of interdependence that can inform decisions about consumption, conservation, and community participation. The therapeutic benefits of regular interaction with natural systems have been documented by researchers studying everything from stress reduction to immune system function, but the residents of Animal Crossing communities discover these benefits through direct experience rather than scientific reports. The person who spends time each day tending flowers or simply sitting quietly in natural settings often reports improved mood, better sleep, and enhanced creativity that seems to flow naturally from sustained contact with living systems operating according to principles of patience, seasonal wisdom, and organic growth. In the sacred geometry of landscapes, where every element serves both practical and spiritual functions, where beauty emerges from understanding rather than force, and where human creativity finds its highest expression in collaboration with, rather than domination of natural processes, residents discover that the most profound teachings about life, growth, and community come not from books or lectures, but from patient observation of the patterns that govern all existence, written in the language of leaves and flowers, flowing water and changing light, the eternal conversation between earth and sky that continues in every moment for those who remember how to listen. In the wandering paths that connect Animal Crossing communities to the wider world beyond their peaceful borders, there travels a collection of merchants and traders whose arrivals are greeted with anticipation and whose departures leave behind not just new possessions, but new perspectives on the fundamental questions of authenticity, value, and the different ways individuals choose to navigate the complex terrain of desire and fulfillment. These traveling figures serve as more than mere vendors of goods. They represent different philosophical approaches to the relationship between material objects and human happiness, each embodying distinct wisdom about how to find meaning and satisfaction in a world where appearances can deceive and true worth often lies hidden beneath surface attractions. Red arrives in communities with the fanfare of someone who understands that perception shapes reality as powerfully as any objective truth. His boat laden with artworks that blur the line between authentic masterpiece and skillful forgery, in ways that force observers to confront uncomfortable questions about how they determine value and meaning. The paintings and sculptures he offers for sale carry within them stories that span centuries and continents, each piece representing not just artistic achievement, but the accumulated cultural wisdom of civilizations that have risen and fallen, while their creative expressions endure as testimony to human creativity and aspiration. Yet Red's inventory presents a unique challenge that distinguishes his offerings from those of other merchants. For among the genuine treasures that deserve places in museums and private collections are scattered forgeries so skillful that they can fool even experienced collectors, replications that capture every visible detail while lacking the essential authenticity that gives original works their profound significance. This mixture of genuine and counterfeit creates a shopping experience unlike any other, where purchase decisions require not just aesthetic appreciation and financial calculation, but careful observation and the development of connoisseurship skills that can distinguish between surface appearance and deeper truth. The forged paintings that Red occasionally offers serve as powerful metaphors for the way modern society often struggles to distinguish between authentic experiences and convincing simulations, between relationships based on genuine connection and those that merely imitate the forms of intimacy without embodying its substance. The counterfeit Mona Lisa that bears all the visual elements of the famous masterpiece while lacking the particular combination of artistic genius and historical significance that makes the original irreplaceable speaks to broader questions about how we evaluate authenticity in art, relationships, and personal experience. The process of learning to identify these forgeries develops observational skills and aesthetic sensitivity that extend far beyond art appreciation into general abilities to perceive subtlety, notice detail, and trust intuitive responses that might otherwise be dismissed or ignored. The resident who learns to spot the incorrect number of pearls in a forged vermeer or the wrong direction of a figure's gaze in a counterfeit Renaissance painting is simultaneously learning to pay attention to small details that reveal important truth, to question assumptions based on first impressions, and to develop the kind of careful observation that can prevent many forms of deception and misunderstanding. Yet Red himself embodies contradictions that prevent simple moral judgments about his business practices, for his willingness to sell forgeries alongside authentic pieces seems motivated less by malicious intent to deceive than by a complex understanding of value that recognizes multiple layers of worth in artistic objects. The forgery that brings joy to someone who cannot afford or access original masterworks serves a different, but not necessarily inferior function, compared to the museum piece that preserves cultural heritage for future generations. The reproduction that allows someone to live daily with beauty that would otherwise remain inaccessible behind museum walls creates its own form of value that transcends questions of financial worth or historical significance. This nuanced approach to authenticity and reproduction reflects deeper philosophical questions about the relationship between original and copy, between the unique object and its multiple reproductions, that have become increasingly relevant in an age where digital technology makes perfect replication possible across many domains of human experience. Red's boat serves as a floating seminar in these complex issues, where each purchase decision becomes an opportunity to consider what makes something valuable, what role rarity plays in determining worth, and how personal appreciation relates to broader cultural consensus about artistic merit. Gulliver represents an entirely different approach to the relationship between travel and wisdom, his frequent shipwrecks serving as ongoing demonstrations of how the journey itself can be more valuable than the intended destination, how apparent failures and setbacks often lead to discoveries and connections that would never have emerged from perfectly executed plans. His confused awakenings on distant shores, surrounded by the scattered remnants of his latest nautical misadventure, transform potential tragedies into opportunities for unexpected encounters and cross-cultural exchange that enrich both his own understanding and the communities where he finds himself stranded. The souvenirs that Gulliver offers in gratitude for assistance with reuniting him with his scattered crew members carry within them the stories of distant lands and different ways of organizing social life, each object serving as a tangible reminder that the familiar patterns of daily existence represent just one among countless possible approaches to the fundamental challenges of human community. The exotic furniture pieces and decorative objects he shares speak to aesthetic traditions that have developed in isolation from local customs, demonstrating how different climates, materials, and cultural values can lead to entirely different solutions to universal needs for shelter, beauty, and meaningful expression. Yet perhaps the most profound gift that Gulliver brings to the communities where he finds refuge lies not in his material offerings, but in his embodiment of a particular attitude toward uncertainty and mishap that transforms potential. Disasters into adventures, setbacks into stories, and failures into opportunities for unexpected connection and growth. His cheerful acceptance of his navigational limitations and his genuine gratitude for assistance from strangers demonstrate how vulnerability and dependence on others can become sources of joy rather than shame when approached with proper humility and openness to relationship. The pattern of his repeated shipwrecks suggests either remarkably poor seamanship or a deeper wisdom that recognizes how the illusion of control over complex systems often prevents us from appreciating the gifts that emerge from surrendering to forces larger than our individual will and planning. Gulliver's willingness to continue sailing despite his obvious limitations speaks to a faith in the fundamental benevolence of existence that allows him to trust that even apparent disasters will ultimately lead to valuable experiences and meaningful encounters. The Able sisters represent the transformation of personal tragedy and loss into creative energy that serves the broader community, while honoring the memory of those who can no longer participate directly in the ongoing work of building beautiful and meaningful lives. Mabel's dedication to fashion and aesthetic expression, supported by her sister Sable's behind-the-scenes work with fabric and thread, demonstrates how individual talents can be channeled into enterprises that enhance everyone's quality of life while providing sustainable livelihoods that align personal fulfillment with community service. The clothing and accessories they create and sell serve functions that extend far beyond mere protection from weather or social convention, offering opportunities for self-expression and identity exploration that allow residents to experiment with different aspects of their personalities while participating in the collective creation of community aesthetic standards. The seasonal collections that reflect changing weather patterns and cultural celebrations help maintain connection between individual fashion choices and the larger rhythms that organize social life, ensuring that personal expression remains grounded in shared experience rather than drifting into pure individualism. The custom design services that the sisters provide create opportunities for residents to participate directly in the creative process, transforming passive consumption into collaborative artistic endeavor where personal vision can be realized through professional skill and expertise. The resident who works with Mabel to create unique patterns or modify existing designs gains insight into the technical aspects of textile creation while developing appreciation for the craftsmanship that underlies even apparently simple garments and accessories. Sable's gradual willingness to share stories about the sisters' shared history demonstrates how work that honors lost relationships can become a form of ongoing connection with those who have died while simultaneously creating new bonds with those who remain alive. Her transformation from reserved grief into engaged storytelling shows how healing often requires not forgetting or moving past loss, but rather learning to carry memory in ways that nourish rather than diminish present relationships and future possibilities. Kix embodies the understanding that attention to seemingly minor details of personal presentation can have profound effects on confidence, comfort, and social interaction. His specialized focus on footwear, reflecting awareness that the foundation upon which we stand influences how we move through the world and how others perceive our approach to daily challenges and opportunities. The shoes and socks he offers serve practical functions related to protection and comfort while simultaneously making statements about personal style and values that communicate important information about individual identity and social positioning. The seasonal appropriateness of his inventory demonstrates sensitivity to the relationship between clothing choices and environmental conditions, showing how wisdom about personal presentation requires attention to context and practical considerations rather than blind adherence to abstract aesthetic principles. The warm boots that provide protection during winter weather serve different functions from the light sandals that enhance summer comfort, yet both contribute to the overall goal of enabling individuals to move confidently and comfortably through their daily activities. The variety of styles and price points in his collection reflects understanding that personal expression through footwear should be accessible to residents with different financial resources and aesthetic preferences, that true style emerges from authentic self-expression rather than from conformity to expensive or exclusive fashion trends. The practical work boots that serve gardeners and outdoor enthusiasts serve their wearers, as well as the elegant dress shoes that complement formal occasions, each type representing different approaches to the relationship between function and beauty. Pascal's appearances in ocean waters, emerging from depths that most land-dwelling creatures never explore to share philosophical insights and practical wisdom about living in harmony with natural systems, represent perhaps the most direct connection between the traveling merchant tradition and ancient wisdom teachings that have guided human development across cultures and centuries. His observations about simplicity, contentment, and the relationship between desire and suffering emerge from lived experience in environments that strip away artificial complications and reveal essential truths about what consciousness requires for genuine satisfaction and peace. The DIY recipes and materials he shares reflect understanding that true security and satisfaction come not from accumulated possessions, but from developed capabilities, not from dependence on external supply chains, but from skills that can create useful and beautiful objects from readily available natural materials. His teachings about crafting and creation encourage residents to develop relationships with basic materials and fundamental processes that connect them to traditions of human creativity that predate industrial production and mass consumption. The pearls he occasionally offers serve as symbols of how patient interaction with natural systems can produce objects of extraordinary beauty and value, each one representing years of incremental development within living systems that transform irritation and challenge into treasures that exceed anything that could be created through force or artificial acceleration. The diving required to obtain these pearls demonstrates how the most valuable gifts often require willingness to enter unfamiliar environments and develop capabilities that extend beyond comfortable routines and familiar skills. His philosophical observations about the relationship between effort and outcome, attachment and disappointment, simplicity and complexity offer practical guidance for navigating the challenges that arise in any community where individuals with different backgrounds and aspirations must find ways to cooperate while maintaining their authentic identities. The wisdom he shares emerges from direct experience rather than theoretical speculation, carrying the authority that comes from testing ideas against the practical challenges of daily existence in environments where philosophical abstractions must prove their worth through concrete applications. The integration of these different merchant personalities and approaches into community life creates ongoing opportunities for residents to explore different aspects of their own relationships with material objects, aesthetic expression, authentic experience, and philosophical understanding. Each encounter with traveling traders becomes a chance to practice discernment, develop appreciation for quality and craftsmanship, explore different approaches to self-expression, and consider fundamental questions about value, authenticity, and the role of material possessions in creating meaningful lives. The anticipation that builds around merchant visits reflects healthy excitement about new possibilities and expanded choices rather than compulsive consumption or desperate seeking for external validation through acquisition of objects. The residents who look forward to Red's art sales or the Able Sisters' seasonal collections are motivated primarily by genuine appreciation for beauty, quality, and creative expression rather than by social pressure or attempts to fill emotional voids through purchasing decisions. The conversations and relationships that develop around these commercial interactions demonstrate how commerce can serve social and educational functions that extend far beyond simple exchange of goods for currency, creating opportunities for learning, relationship building, and community development that transform potentially impersonal transactions into meaningful encounters between individuals who recognize each other's humanity and worth regardless of their specific roles in particular exchanges. In the wisdom carried by these wandering merchants, communities discover that true prosperity emerges not from accumulation or consumption, but from development of appreciation, discernment, and relationship with authentic beauty, with skillful craftsmanship, with philosophical insight, and ultimately with the creative forces that manifest through human consciousness when it remains open to wonder, learning, and connection with others who share the great adventure of consciousness, exploring itself through countless forms of expression and exchange. In the sacred calendar that governs the rhythms of life within Animal Crossing communities, where each celebration emerges not from commercial obligation or arbitrary tradition, but from deep recognition of the natural cycles and spiritual transitions that give meaning to the passage of time, there exists a wisdom so ancient and universal that it connects these peaceful villages to the great traditions of human culture that have sustained communities across continents and centuries. These festivals and holidays serve as more than mere entertainment or breaks from routine. They function as collective rituals that strengthen the bonds holding communities together while marking the significant passages of seasonal change and personal growth that might otherwise pass unnoticed in the gentle flow of daily existence. The spring celebrations that emerge as winter's grip loosens and life returns to dormant gardens carry within them the accumulated joy of countless generations who have witnessed this miracle of renewal and felt their spirits lift in response to longer days, warmer air, and the first tentative appearance of green shoots pushing through soil that seemed lifeless only weeks before. The Cherry Blossom Festival transforms communities into temples of transient beauty, where petals drift like snow through air perfumed with the sweetness of brief flowering, reminding everyone who witnesses this spectacle that the most precious moments are often those that cannot be captured or extended, but must be experienced fully in their appointed time. The tradition of crafting furniture and decorations from fallen cherry blossom petals demonstrates how communities can create lasting beauty from ephemeral natural phenomena, transforming the brief flowering season into objects that carry spring's memory through the rest of the year. The resident who collects these delicate petals during their short availability learns patience and presence, developing the ability to recognize when special opportunities arise and respond to them with appropriate urgency, while maintaining the peaceful mindset that characterizes daily life in these communities. The social dimension of cherry blossom viewing reflects ancient practices of communal appreciation for natural beauty that strengthen relationships by creating shared experiences of wonder and gratitude. The neighbors who gather beneath blooming trees to share food, conversation, and quiet contemplation are participating in rituals that connect them not only to each other, but to the larger patterns of renewal and growth that govern all existence. These gatherings demonstrate how celebration can emerge naturally from attention to seasonal changes, rather than requiring elaborate planning or expensive preparations. The Bunny Day festivities that mark the spring equinox bring together themes of renewal, hidden abundance, and playful cooperation in activities that engage residents of all ages in the joyful work of discovery and creation. The colorful eggs that appear throughout the community during this celebration serve as symbols of potential waiting to be revealed, of new life developing within protective shells, and of the surprises that emerge when we approach familiar environments with fresh eyes and willingness to look beyond surface appearances. The crafting activities that transform these discovered eggs into furniture, clothing, and decorative items teach practical skills, while reinforcing the understanding that raw materials found in nature can be transformed through creativity and effort into objects that enhance daily life and express personal aesthetic values. The resident who learns to create beautiful and useful items from simple eggs develops appreciation for both the resources that nature provides and the human capabilities that can transform those resources into forms that serve community needs and individual expression. The element of surprise that characterizes egg hunting activities brings spontaneity and adventure into daily routines that might otherwise become predictable, encouraging residents to explore areas they might normally overlook and pay attention to details they might usually ignore. This combination of familiar territory and unexpected discoveries creates opportunities for residents to see their own communities with fresh eyes, while developing observational skills that enhance appreciation for subtle beauty and hidden possibilities. The summer festivals that celebrate the season's abundance and energy reflect humanity's ancient recognition that warm months provide unique opportunities for outdoor gathering, extended social interaction, and activities that would be difficult or impossible during other seasons. The bug-off competitions that encourage residents to develop skills in observation, patience, and understanding of insect behavior demonstrate how contests can serve educational purposes while fostering healthy competition that brings out individual excellence without creating destructive rivalry or lasting resentment between participants. The fireworks festivals that transform summer evenings into spectacles of light and sound create shared experiences of wonder that transcend individual differences in age, background, or personal interests, bringing entire communities together in collective appreciation for beauty that exists purely for its own sake, rather than serving any practical function. The temporary nature of fireworks displays reinforces lessons about appreciating beauty that cannot be possessed or preserved, that must be experienced in the moment of its creation, and then released without grasping or attempts to make permanent what is inherently transient. The custom design activities that allow residents to create patterns for fireworks displays demonstrate how individual creativity can contribute to collective celebrations, transforming passive spectatorship into active participation that allows everyone to add their personal vision to shared community experiences. The resident who designs fireworks patterns that delight neighbors learns how personal expression can serve communal joy while developing technical skills and aesthetic sensibilities that enhance both individual satisfaction and social contribution. The summer evening activities that extend social interaction beyond daylight hours create opportunities for different kinds of conversation and relationship building that complement but differ from daytime interactions. As the intimacy of gathering around sources of light in the darkness naturally encourages more personal sharing and deeper connection between participants. These nocturnal celebrations demonstrate how communities can adapt their social rhythms to take advantage of seasonal opportunities while maintaining the gentle, non-coercive atmosphere that characterizes all healthy community activities. The autumn celebrations that acknowledge both harvest abundance and the approaching season of rest carry within them wisdom about gratitude, preparation, and the cycles of giving and receiving that sustain communities through times of plenty and periods of scarcity. The harvest festival traditions that focus on sharing food and expressing appreciation for the year's agricultural productivity connect residents to fundamental realities about their dependence on natural systems and the importance of recognizing abundance when it appears rather than taking it for granted or assuming it will continue indefinitely. The acorn and mushroom gathering activities that characterize autumn months teach practical skills about identifying and harvesting natural resources while reinforcing understanding about sustainable interaction with living systems that can provide ongoing benefits when approached with proper knowledge and respect. The resident who learns to distinguish between different types of mushrooms or understand the seasons when various nuts ripen develops capabilities that connect them to traditions of human survival and forest wisdom that predate agricultural civilization. The Halloween celebrations that explore themes of mystery, transformation, and the blurring of boundaries between different states of being create safe opportunities for residents to experiment with different aspects of their personalities while engaging with questions about identity, authenticity, and the masks we all wear in various social situations. The costume competitions and trick-or-treat activities allow for playful exploration of roles and characteristics that might not emerge during regular daily interactions, creating space for creative self-expression and harmless mischief that relieves social tensions while strengthening community bonds. The candy distribution that characterizes these autumn festivities demonstrates how sharing sweet treats can become a form of community care that acknowledges everyone's desire for small luxuries and special experiences while ensuring that such pleasures remain accessible regardless of individual financial circumstances. The generosity that flows naturally during Halloween activities creates models for year-round mutual support while associating celebration with giving rather than consuming or accumulating. The winter holidays that mark the year's end and the approach of its longest nights bring themes of gratitude, generosity, and hope into focus through activities that emphasize connection, warmth, and the importance of maintaining community bonds during seasons when natural abundance is least available and mutual support becomes most crucial for both physical and emotional survival. The Toy Day celebrations that focus on gift-giving and surprise create opportunities for residents to express care for each other through thoughtful attention to individual preferences and needs, while participating in traditions that connect them to broader cultural patterns of midwinter, generosity, and hope. The significance of these gift exchanges extends beyond the material value of particular objects to encompass the relationships they represent and the attention they demonstrate. As residents learn to observe each other carefully enough to select presents that reflect genuine understanding of individual personalities, interests, and desires, the gift that shows such understanding becomes valuable not primarily for its practical utility or monetary worth, but for its demonstration that the giver has paid enough attention to develop real knowledge about the recipient's character and preferences. The preparation activities that precede major gift-giving celebrations teach practical skills related to planning, resource management, and coordination, while creating opportunities for residents to work together toward common goals that serve everyone's happiness rather than competitive individual advancement. The collaborative decoration of public spaces and organization of community events demonstrate how shared work towards celebratory goals can become enjoyable in its own right, while strengthening the social bonds that make such celebrations meaningful and satisfying. The winter illumination traditions that combat seasonal darkness with displays of candles, lanterns, and decorative lighting create environments that support mental and emotional health during months when reduced daylight can naturally lead to decreased energy and social engagement. These lighting displays serve practical purposes related to extending useful hours and enhancing safety, while simultaneously creating beauty that lifts spirits and reinforces community identity through shared aesthetic experiences. The birthday celebrations that honor individual residents throughout the year demonstrate how communities can balance collective activities with recognition of personal significance, ensuring that each member feels valued as a unique individual while maintaining the social cohesion that makes group celebrations possible and meaningful. The personal attention that characterizes birthday parties creates opportunities for deeper individual connection within the context of broader community relationships, allowing residents to learn more about each other's histories, aspirations, and distinctive characteristics. The gift-giving that accompanies birthday celebrations differs from holiday exchanges in its focus on individual recognition rather than reciprocal generosity, creating opportunities for community members to express appreciation for particular individuals without expecting equivalent treatment in return. This form of giving teaches important lessons about unconditional appreciation and the joy that comes from celebrating others' happiness without reference to personal benefit or advancement. The memory creation that occurs during birthday parties serves important psychological and social functions, providing individuals with evidence that their existence matters to others, while creating shared experiences that strengthen long-term relationships and community continuity. The resident who experiences genuine celebration of their personal milestone develops increased sense of belonging and value within the community, while contributing to social traditions that will benefit others when their own special days arrive. The integration of personal and collective celebration throughout the annual cycle creates rhythms that honor both individual identity and community solidarity, demonstrating how healthy societies can support personal development while maintaining social cohesion. The balance between private recognition and public festivity shows how communities can acknowledge individual uniqueness while reinforcing shared values and common experiences that unite diverse personalities in collaborative relationship. The seasonal appropriateness of different celebrations demonstrates sophisticated understanding of how human psychology responds to environmental changes and natural cycles, with community activities designed to complement rather than fight against the moods and energy levels that naturally accompany different times of year. Spring celebrations emphasize renewal and new beginnings when people naturally feel motivated toward fresh starts and increased activity, while winter holidays focus on warmth and connection during seasons when internal reflection and intimate gathering feel most appropriate and satisfying. The voluntary participation that characterizes all community celebrations ensures that individual preferences and energy levels are respected while maintaining enough collective engagement to create the shared experiences that make festivals meaningful and memorable. Residents can choose their level of involvement based on personal interest, available time, and social comfort, without facing pressure or criticism for decisions that prioritize individual needs over community expectations. The absence of commercial pressure or competitive consumption in these celebrations allows residents to focus on the relational and spiritual dimensions of festivity rather than feeling stressed about meeting external standards or keeping up with others' spending or preparation levels. The emphasis on creativity, participation, and mutual appreciation over expensive gifts or elaborate displays creates environments where celebration enhances rather than strains community relationships and individual peace of mind. The educational dimension of seasonal celebrations provides ongoing opportunities for residents to learn about natural cycles, cultural traditions, and practical skills, while engaging in activities that feel enjoyable rather than burdensome or academic. The integration of learning with celebration demonstrates how communities can support individual development and cultural transmission through activities that people choose freely because they find them personally satisfying and socially rewarding. In the sacred calendar of celebrations that marks time's passage through rituals of renewal, gratitude, mystery, and hope, communities discover that the most profound teachings about relationship, meaning, and the art of living well emerge, not from formal instruction, but from shared participation in activities that honor both the cycles of nature and the needs of human consciousness for beauty, connection, and recognition of the sacred dimensions that give depth and significance to even the most ordinary moments of existence. In the hallowed halls of the museum, where silence reigns not as emptiness, but as the profound quiet that accompanies genuine reverence for knowledge and beauty, there stands a temple to human curiosity that transcends the boundaries of any single community to connect residents with the vast tapestry of life that has unfolded across millions of years and countless ecosystems. This sacred space, presided over by Blathers the owl with his infectious enthusiasm for learning, and his sister Celeste with her deep communion with the cosmic mysteries that play out nightly above our heads, represents far more than a mere repository for collected specimens. It serves as a living demonstration of humanity's noblest impulse to understand, preserve, and share the wonders that surround us in forms both microscopic and magnificent. Blathers embodies the archetype of the scholar whose passion for knowledge burns so brightly that it illuminates not only his own understanding, but kindles similar flames of curiosity in everyone who encounters his boundless enthusiasm for discovery and explanation. His encyclopedic knowledge of natural history flows not from dry academic study, but from genuine love affair with the intricate beauty and elegant complexity that characterizes every form of life, from the humblest beetle to the most spectacular dinosaur fossil. When he receives a new donation, his response demonstrates the profound truth that learning never becomes routine or mundane for those who approach it with proper reverence and wonder. His detailed explanations of each specimen's characteristics, habitat, and evolutionary significance serve multiple educational functions that extend far beyond simple information. Transfer to include cultivation of observational skills, development of scientific thinking, and most importantly, inspiration of the kind of deep appreciation that transforms casual observers into lifelong students of the natural world. The resident who listens carefully to Blather's descriptions learns not just facts about particular species, but ways of seeing and thinking that enhance appreciation for the intricate relationships that connect all forms of life in webs of mutual dependence and creative interaction. The irony of his pronounced fear of bugs, given his professional dedication to entomological education, reveals something profound about how we can transcend personal limitations and emotional reactions in service of larger purposes that we recognize as important and meaningful. His willingness to accept insect donations, despite his obvious discomfort, demonstrates the kind of courage that emerges when commitment to knowledge and service overcomes individual preferences and anxieties. This example teaches valuable lessons about how professional dedication and personal growth often require us to move beyond our comfort zones while maintaining genuine enthusiasm for work that serves purposes larger than immediate personal gratification. The museum's organization into distinct sections for fossils, fish, insects, and art reflects sophisticated understanding of how different forms of knowledge and appreciation require different kinds of attention and create different opportunities for wonder and learning. The fossil hall, with its reconstructed skeletons reaching toward vaulted ceilings, creates an environment where visitors can experience visceral connection to deep time and evolutionary history that spans millions of years. While the aquarium's flowing displays demonstrate the grace and diversity of life forms adapted to aquatic environments that most land dwellers rarely have opportunity to observe closely. The insect exhibits reveal worlds of incredible complexity and beauty that exist largely unnoticed by humans, despite their crucial roles in ecosystem, health, and agricultural productivity. While the art galleries provide space for contemplating human creativity and cultural achievement alongside natural wonders, demonstrating how artistic expression represents another form of evolutionary development that deserves recognition and preservation alongside biological specimens. This integration of natural and cultural exhibits reflects understanding that human consciousness and creativity represent natural phenomena worthy of study and celebration, rather than artificial additions to an otherwise purely biological museum. The satisfaction that comes from donating specimens to the museum rather than selling them for immediate profit demonstrates how activities that serve collective knowledge and permanent cultural enrichment create deeper and more lasting satisfaction than transactions focused solely on individual financial gain. The resident who chooses donation over sale discovers that contributing to something larger than personal accumulation generates a sense of purpose and connection that material rewards alone cannot provide, while simultaneously developing the kind of generosity and long-term thinking that characterizes healthy communities and sustainable societies. The completion of collections becomes a form of collaborative achievement that connects individual discovery activities to larger projects of documentation and preservation that will benefit current and future generations of learners and nature enthusiasts. Each donated specimen contributes to comprehensive representations of local biodiversity that serve educational purposes, while creating permanent records of ecological relationships and species diversity that might otherwise be lost to habitat destruction, climate change, or other environmental pressures that threaten natural systems worldwide. The sense of legacy that develops through museum contributions reflects recognition that individual lives gain meaning through participation in projects that transcend personal lifespans and contribute to cultural and scientific enterprises that will continue long after particular individuals are no longer present to witness their ongoing development. The fossil skeleton that emerges gradually through multiple donations tells stories about ancient life forms and evolutionary processes that connect present-day observers to vast temporal scales and biological relationships that humble human pretensions while inspiring wonder at the creative processes that have produced such extraordinary diversity of form and function. Celeste represents the contemplative dimension of scientific wonder, her focus on astronomy and cosmic phenomena, connecting earthbound communities to universal processes and celestial relationships that dwarf terrestrial concerns, while simultaneously providing perspective that can transform daily anxieties and limitations into opportunities for transcendent appreciation and spiritual growth. Her knowledge of constellations, meteor showers, and celestial mechanics opens doorways to forms of beauty and meaning that require patient observation and willingness to venture into darkness in order to perceive lights that remain invisible during busy daytime activities. The star charts and celestial calendars she provides serve practical functions for residents interested in timing outdoor activities or planning special observations, while simultaneously offering educational opportunities that develop understanding of how Earth's position and movement through space creates the seasonal changes and daily rhythms that organize biological and social life in, quote, communities worldwide. Her teachings about astronomy connect local experiences to universal processes, showing how the same forces that govern planetary motion and stellar evolution also influence weather patterns, tidal cycles, and the biological rhythms that affect plant growth and animal behavior. The shooting star events that she helps residents anticipate and understand transform casual sky watching into opportunities for wish-making that connects personal hopes and dreams to cosmic processes of incredible beauty, power. The practice of making wishes on falling stars represents more than superstitious thinking. It demonstrates recognition that human consciousness participates in universal processes of creativity and manifestation that operate on scales both intimate and astronomical, that individual intentions and desires represent expressions of the same creative forces that drive stellar formation and galactic evolution. The DIY recipes for celestial-themed furniture and decorations that she occasionally shares demonstrate how astronomical knowledge can inspire artistic creativity while creating opportunities for residents to bring cosmic beauty into their daily living spaces through crafted objects that serve both practical and aesthetic functions. The star-themed furniture pieces and zodiac-inspired decorations transform homes into spaces that maintain connection to celestial rhythms and astronomical relationships, even during periods when weather or scheduling prevents direct sky observation. The philosophical implications of astronomical education extend far beyond scientific knowledge to include development of temporal perspective that can transform understanding of personal problems and community challenges by placing them within contexts of cosmic time and universal process that reveal both the significance and the relative brevity of earthbound concerns. The resident who learns to appreciate stellar distances and evolutionary timescales develops capacity for patience and long-term thinking that can inform decisions about career, relationships, and community involvement with wisdom that emerges from understanding humanity's place within larger cosmic processes. The museum's role as a gathering place for residents who share interests in learning and discovery creates opportunities for social interaction that center around intellectual curiosity rather than consumption or competition, demonstrating how knowledge-seeking activities can become foundations for community relationships based on shared appreciation for beauty, complexity, and mystery, rather than material accumulation or social status. The conversations that develop around museum exhibits often reveal unexpected depths in neighbors who might otherwise remain acquaintances, as shared wonder at natural phenomena and artistic achievement creates bonds that transcend superficial social differences. The seasonal exhibitions and special displays that periodically transform familiar museum spaces into showcases for particular themes or newly discovered specimens demonstrate how learning environments can maintain vitality and freshness through ongoing development rather than becoming static repositories that residents visit once and then ignore. These rotating exhibits ensure that even long-time community members have reasons to return regularly to spaces that continue evolving and offering new opportunities for discovery and appreciation. The research activities that occasionally engage residents in fieldwork or specimen preparation provide hands-on learning opportunities that complement passive observation with active participation in scientific processes, teaching practical skills while developing appreciation for the careful observation, precise documentation, and patient analysis that characterize genuine scientific investigation. These activities transform residents from mere consumers of scientific knowledge into participants in ongoing processes of discovery that contribute to growing understanding of natural systems and evolutionary relationships. The preservation work that maintains museum collections in good condition for future generations demonstrates commitment to long-term cultural and educational goals that transcend immediate community needs while serving the broader human project of understanding and documenting the natural world for benefit of species survival and intellectual development. The careful storage, cataloging, and maintenance of specimens represent investments in future learning opportunities that may serve purposes not yet imagined by current residents, but that will undoubtedly contribute to ongoing human relationship with natural systems and processes. The educational programs that bring school groups and visiting researchers to museum facilities create opportunities for knowledge exchange that benefit both local residents and outside experts, while demonstrating how individual communities can contribute to larger networks of learning and scientific investigation that span continents and academic disciplines. These interactions ensure that local discoveries and collections serve purposes that extend beyond immediate community boundaries, while bringing outside knowledge and perspectives into local educational environments. The sense of completeness that emerges from fully developed museum collections reflects deeper psychological and spiritual satisfactions that come from participating in projects of documentation and preservation that serve purposes larger than individual gratification or material accumulation. The resident who contributes to comprehensive fossil displays or complete insect collections experiences forms of fulfillment that emerge from service to knowledge and beauty rather than personal acquisition. Discovering that generous contribution to permanent cultural resources creates more lasting satisfaction than private ownership of objects that serve only individual purposes. The museum's demonstration that beauty, knowledge, and cultural achievement deserve preservation and celebration for their own sake, rather than their commercial value, provides ongoing education in priorities and values that can transform understanding of what makes life meaningful and communities worth sustaining. The permanent accessibility of collections ensures that wonders and insights remain available to anyone interested in learning, rather than being restricted to those who can afford private ownership or specialized access, demonstrating how public institutions can serve democratic ideals while preserving cultural and natural heritage for future generations. The integration of scientific knowledge with aesthetic appreciation throughout museum displays demonstrates sophisticated understanding that learning and beauty enhance each other rather than competing for attention or resources, that the most effective education appeals to multiple forms of intelligence and appreciation, while honoring both analytical thinking and intuitive response to natural wonder. The museum becomes a space where residents can develop both intellectual understanding and emotional connection to natural processes and cultural achievements that represent the finest expressions of evolutionary development and human creativity, working in harmony toward greater appreciation and deeper understanding of existence itself. In these hallowed halls where knowledge serves beauty and beauty illuminates knowledge, where individual curiosity contributes to collective wisdom and personal wonder connects to universal mystery, residents discover that the greatest treasures are those that can be shared without diminishment, that grow more valuable through appreciation rather than possession, and that connect temporary human lives to permanent processes of creativity and discovery that give meaning and significance to consciousness wherever it emerges, in the vast cosmos that surrounds and sustains all forms of life and learning, in the transformative vision of paradise that emerged with the arrival of new horizons. where the familiar comforts of established communities gave way to the profound challenge and unlimited possibility of beginning entirely anew on uninhabited islands scattered like jewels across azure seas. There unfolded a revolutionary understanding of what it means to create home not through inheritance or accident of birth, but through conscious choice, deliberate effort, and the patient application of individual vision to raw potential that awaits the touch of human consciousness to transform possibility into reality. This evolution from established towns to virgin islands represents more than mere change of setting. It embodies a fundamental shift in philosophy about the relationship between human creativity and natural environment, between personal expression and community development, between the comfort of inherited structures and the exhilarating responsibility of creating something entirely new from the pristine canvas of untouched landscapes. The deserted island that serves as starting point for this unprecedented adventure in conscious creation presents itself not as empty wasteland requiring immediate improvement, but as perfect potential waiting patiently for the right combination of vision, effort, and time to reveal the paradise that lies dormant within its natural beauty. The beaches that stretch unmarked by footprints, the forests that grow according to their own ancient patterns, the rivers that flow without bridges or interference. All these elements speak to the profound truth that the most meaningful achievements often begin not with elaborate resources or sophisticated infrastructure, but with simple willingness to see possibility where others might perceive only challenge or absence. The airplane flight that carries new residents to their chosen islands serves as more than mere transportation. It represents the leap of faith that all genuine creation requires, the willingness to leave behind familiar certainties in favor of unknown possibilities that exist only in imagination until given form through sustained effort and unwavering commitment. The view from aircraft windows reveals archipelagos of potential stretching to every horizon, each island representing different opportunities for expression and different challenges that will call forth particular aspects of creative capability and personal character. Tom Nook's evolved role in this island paradise paradigm demonstrates how true leadership adapts its methods while maintaining its essential values, as his deserted island getaway package transforms from simple real estate transaction into comprehensive support system for conscious community creation. His provision of basic tools, emergency shelter, and fundamental guidance reflects understanding that meaningful independence requires not abandonment to pure self-reliance, but rather provision of essential foundations upon which genuine self-sufficiency can develop naturally, through experience and gradual skill acquisition. The tent that serves as initial shelter embodies profound lessons about the relationship between comfort and growth, demonstrating how temporary simplicity can create conditions more conducive to development and discovery than premature luxury that insulates inhabitants from direct contact with natural processes and environmental realities. The resident who learns to appreciate canvas walls and sleeping on the ground develops resilience and adaptability that no amount of inherited comfort could provide, while gaining intimate knowledge of weather patterns, seasonal changes, and natural rhythms that remain abstract concepts for those insulated by elaborate shelter systems. The DIY crafting system that becomes essential for island development represents a revolutionary departure from consumer-based approaches to material needs, transforming residents from passive purchasers of manufactured goods into active creators who understand intimately the resources, processes, and skills required to produce objects that serve both practical and aesthetic functions. The crafting bench that serves as center for creative production becomes a symbol of human capability to transform raw materials into useful and beautiful forms through the application of knowledge, skill, and artistic vision. The recipes that guide crafting activities demonstrate how traditional knowledge can be preserved and transmitted across generations, while remaining flexible enough to accommodate individual creativity and local resource availability. The resident who learns to craft furniture from tree branches and flowers discovers connections to ancestral traditions of resourcefulness and creativity that predate industrial production, while developing skills and appreciations that remain valuable, regardless of technological advancement or economic circumstances. The resource gathering that supports crafting activities creates daily rhythms of interaction with natural systems that develop ecological awareness and environmental stewardship through direct experience rather than abstract education. The gathering of wood, stone, and other materials requires attention to sustainability and regeneration that prevents overexploitation, while ensuring ongoing availability of resources needed for continued development and creative expression. This hands-on approach to resource management teaches lessons about conservation and renewal that remain largely theoretical in contexts where materials appear ready-made without visible connection to their natural sources. The terraforming capabilities that eventually become available to experienced island developers represent perhaps the most profound expression of the New Horizons philosophy, allowing residents to reshape landscapes according to personal vision, while requiring deep understanding of how environmental modifications affect ecosystem balance and community functionality. The ability to move rivers, create waterfalls, and reshape cliffsides transforms residents into landscape architects whose decisions influence not only aesthetic appearance, but practical considerations of access, drainage, and habitat preservation that affect all island inhabitants, both human and non-human. This godlike power over environmental structure comes with corresponding responsibility to consider long-term consequences and ecological relationships that might not be immediately apparent to inexperienced designers. The resident who learns to use terraforming tools wisely develops appreciation for the complexity of natural systems and the importance of maintaining balance between human desires for convenience and beauty and the needs of other species that share island ecosystems. The Nook Miles program that rewards residents for achieving various development milestones and exploring different aspects of island life reflects sophisticated understanding of how progress can be encouraged and recognized without creating coercive pressure or competitive atmospheres that undermine the peaceful cooperation that characterizes healthy communities. These achievement-based rewards acknowledge effort and accomplishment, while ensuring that all residents have access to recognition and advancement, regardless of their particular talents or interests. The diversity of activities that generate Nook Miles demonstrates appreciation for different approaches to island life and community contribution, ensuring that whether residents prefer fishing, gardening, construction, or social interaction, their chosen activities receive recognition and reward that supports continued engagement and skill development. This inclusive approach to achievement prevents any single activity or talent from becoming exclusively valued, while encouraging residents to explore different aspects of island life that might reveal hidden interests or capabilities. The seasonal nature of many Nook Miles challenges creates ongoing incentives for residents to remain engaged with natural cycles and environmental changes that might otherwise become routine or unnoticed, while preventing the achievement system from becoming stale or predictable through constantly rotating opportunities for recognition and advancement. The resident who pays attention to these seasonal challenges develops heightened awareness of natural rhythms while discovering new activities and perspectives that enrich long-term island experience. the customization options that allow residents to modify furniture, clothing, and environmental elements according to personal aesthetic preferences represent the ultimate expression of individual creativity within community contexts, demonstrating how personal expression can enhance rather than conflict with social harmony when approached with consideration for others and awareness of how individual choices contribute to collective environmental quality. The custom design portal that enables sharing of patterns and creations across different islands creates networks of artistic collaboration that transcend individual community boundaries while maintaining local control over aesthetic choices and cultural development. The ability to visit other islands through online connectivity transforms individual paradise creation into opportunities for inspiration, learning, and cultural exchange that prevent island development from becoming isolated or stagnant, while preserving the autonomy and unique character that makes each community distinct and meaningful. These inter-island visits demonstrate how individual creativity can inspire others without creating pressure for imitation or conformity, as residents discover new possibilities for their own development, while appreciating different approaches to the common challenges of creating beautiful and functional living environments. The seasonal events and updates that continue to introduce new activities, items, and possibilities ensure that even well-developed islands maintain potential for growth and change that prevents paradise from becoming static perfection that no longer offers challenges or opportunities for continued learning and pursued learning. Development. This ongoing evolution reflects understanding that true paradise lies not in achievement of some final perfect state, but in maintaining conditions where growth, discovery, and creative expression remain possible and rewarding. The photography features that allow residents to capture and share moments of natural beauty and community life demonstrate how technological tools can enhance, rather than replace, direct experience with natural systems and social relationships, creating opportunities for artistic expression and memory preservation that complement rather than substitute for lived engagement with island environments and community activities. The resident who learns to see photographic opportunities in daily life develops enhanced appreciation for visual beauty and meaningful moments that might otherwise pass unnoticed in the flow of routine activities. The museum expansion that accommodates new forms of artistic and cultural expression reflects the understanding that paradise must include opportunities for intellectual and aesthetic development that connect individual communities to broader traditions of human creativity and scientific understanding. The art gallery that displays resident creations alongside historical masterpieces demonstrates how individual artistic expression can be honored and preserved while maintaining connection to cultural heritage that transcends local community boundaries. The Happy Home Paradise expansion that focuses specifically on interior design and residential planning represents recognition that home creation serves psychological and spiritual needs that extend beyond mere shelter provision to encompass self-expression, comfort optimization, and the creation of private spaces that support individual well-being within larger community contexts. The professional development of design skills through this expansion demonstrates how individual talents can be cultivated and shared in ways that serve both personal fulfillment and community enhancement. The integration of individual creativity with natural preservation throughout the New Horizons experience teaches profound lessons about sustainable development that honors both human needs for beauty and functionality and ecological requirements for habitat preservation and species diversity. The island that achieves 5-star rating through careful balance of development and conservation becomes a model for how human communities can enhance rather than degrade natural environments when guided by wisdom, patience, and commitment to long-term sustainability. The social aspects of island life that develop through ongoing interaction with visiting villagers, traveling merchants, and other residents demonstrate how individual paradise creation requires community relationships that provide meaning, challenge, and support that no amount of environmental beauty or material comfort can supply. The island paradise that lacks genuine social connection remains incomplete regardless of its aesthetic achievements or functional efficiency. The leadership opportunities that emerge as islands develop and attract new residents create chances for experienced inhabitants to mentor newcomers while continuing their own learning through teaching and guidance activities that deepen understanding of island life principles while contributing to community continuity and cultural transmission. The resident who learns to welcome and guide newcomers discovers that sharing knowledge and experience enhances rather than diminishes personal satisfaction, while ensuring that community wisdom accumulates rather than disappearing with the departure of particular individuals. In the vision of paradise that emerges through conscious creation on deserted islands, where individual creativity serves community flourishing and personal expression enhances rather than conflicts with ecological harmony, residents discover that the most profound satisfactions come not from achieving some predetermined ideal of perfection, but from participating in ongoing processes of growth, discovery, and creative collaboration that honor both human aspirations and natural wisdom, creating conditions where consciousness can explore its creative potential while remaining grounded in the practical requirements of sustainable community life and environmental stewardship that ensure paradise remains available to future generations who will continue the eternal work of transforming possibility into reality through vision, effort, and love. In the vast tapestry of night that spreads across Animal Crossing communities when daylight fades and familiar landscapes transform into realms of shadow and starlight, there unfolds a cosmic drama so ancient and magnificent that it connects the smallest island villages to the infinite expanses of space where galaxies spiral through darkness, older than imagination, and stars are born from clouds of gas and dust that carry within them the seeds of worlds yet to be discovered. The shooting stars that streak across these peaceful skies arrive not as random ornaments to decorate evening hours, but as messengers from depths of space, so profound that their light began its journey to Earth long before human consciousness emerged to witness their brief and brilliant passage through atmospheres that separate terrestrial concerns from the cosmic processes that govern all existence. The practice of wishing upon these celestial visitors transforms a simple astronomical phenomenon into a bridge between individual hopes and universal forces of creativity and manifestation that operate according to principles too vast for complete human comprehension, yet intimate enough to respond to the sincere desires of consciousness, wherever it appears in forms capable of wonder and aspiration. When residents gather on beaches and hilltops to watch for falling stars, they participate in rituals as ancient as human awareness itself, connecting their personal dreams to cosmic energies that have guided evolution and consciousness development across billions of years of planetary history. The fragments that occasionally fall to Earth as star fragments carry within their crystalline structure the concentrated essence of wishes made manifest, demonstrating how intention and cosmic process can collaborate to produce tangible results that bridge the gap between spiritual aspiration and material reality. These fragments serve as more than mere crafting materials for celestial-themed furniture and decorations. They represent physical evidence that consciousness can influence matter through focused intention. When properly aligned with Gaia, natural forces, and cosmic rhythms that govern both stellar formation and personal transformation. The DIY recipes that transform these star fragments into furniture pieces of extraordinary beauty demonstrate how cosmic inspiration can be channeled into practical applications that enhance daily living while maintaining connection to the transcendent sources from which the materials originally emerged. The ones that allow instant costume changes speak to deeper truths about identity, transformation, and the fluid nature of self-expression that becomes possible when individual creativity aligns with cosmic energies of change and renewal. The Zodiac Furniture series that emerges from combining star fragments with other natural materials reflects ancient understanding of how celestial positions and seasonal cycles influence earthly events and personal development in ways that modern skepticism often dismisses, but traditional wisdom has always recognized as fundamental aspects of how consciousness relates to the larger environmental and cosmic contexts within which it operates. Each zodiac item carries symbolic meaning that connects personal identity to archetypal energies and seasonal rhythms that have guided human understanding of character, timing, and relationship for thousands of years across diverse cultures and spiritual traditions. The UFO sightings that occasionally transform peaceful evening hours into encounters with mysteries that transcend normal categories of explanation represent acknowledgement that Animal Crossing communities exist within a universe far stranger and more wonderful than daily routines might suggest, where conventional boundaries between possible and impossible become fluid in the presence of phenomena that challenge assumptions about reality and open awareness to possibilities that extend far beyond earthbound concerns and terrestrial limitations. These unidentified flying objects arrive without explanation or fanfare, their presence witnessed by residents who happen to be in the right place at the right time to observe manifestations of intelligence and technology that operate according to principles unknown to current scientific understanding. The golden glow that emanates from these craft suggests forms of energy utilization that transcend fossil fuels and electrical generation, while their silent movement through atmosphere demonstrates mastery of physical forces that human engineering has yet to comprehend or duplicate. The space-themed furniture and decorations that sometimes appear in connection with these sightings provide tangible links to cosmic mysteries, while allowing residents to incorporate elements of wonder and transcendence into their daily living environments. The lunar surface and asteroid decorations transform ordinary rooms into spaces that evoke the vast emptiness and incredible beauty of interplanetary space, while rocket ships and satellite dishes speak to human aspirations toward exploration and communication that extend beyond planetary boundaries into realms where Earth appears as a single blue marble suspended in infinite darkness. The connection between individual islands and the larger universe becomes most apparent during clear nights when residents can observe not only shooting stars and mysterious aircraft, but also the steady procession of constellations that rotate overhead according to seasonal patterns that have remained constant throughout human history. These star patterns serve as celestial calendars that connect local timekeeping to cosmic cycles, demonstrating how earthbound communities participate in universal rhythms that govern everything from tidal movements to agricultural seasons, to the biological cycles that regulate sleep, reproduction, and migration patterns across countless species. The navigation possibilities that emerge from understanding these stellar patterns recall ancient traditions of wayfinding that enabled human exploration and settlement of islands, across vast ocean distances, long before mechanical, instruments, or satellite technology made such journeys seem routine, rather than miraculous achievements of courage, skill, and intimate knowledge of natural systems. The resident who learns to recognize major constellations and understand their seasonal movements develops connection to navigation wisdom that enabled human civilization to spread across the globe through careful observation of natural phenomena and patient accumulation of environmental knowledge. The seasonal changes in visible constellations create natural rhythms of celestial observation that prevent skywatching from becoming routine, while providing ongoing opportunities for discovery and deeper appreciation of cosmic beauty that remains available regardless of technological advancement or economic circumstances. The spring constellations that herald the return of growing seasons carry different meanings and associations than the winter star patterns that appear during months when earthly life retreats into dormancy and conservation, while summer and autumn stars mark seasons of abundance and harvest that connect celestial observation to agricultural and ecological cycles. The philosophical implications of regular stargazing extend far beyond astronomical education to include development of perspectives on time, scale, and significance that can transform understanding of personal problems and community challenges by placing them within contexts of cosmic duration and universal process that reveal both the importance and the relative brevity of individual concerns. The resident who spends time contemplating stellar distances and galactic rotation develops capacity for patience and long-term thinking that can inform decisions about relationships, career, and community involvement with wisdom that emerges from understanding humanity's place within processes that operate on scales, both intimate and astronomical. The meteor showers that periodically transform ordinary nights into spectacular displays of cosmic activity create opportunities for community gathering and shared wonder that transcend individual differences in background, interest, or belief, while connecting all observers to phenomena that dwarf terrestrial concerns and inspire appreciation for the incredible beauty and power of forces that operate beyond human control or complete understanding. These celestial events demonstrate how natural phenomena can create social bonds and collective memories that strengthen community identity while connecting local experience to universal processes. The timing of these astronomical events, according to predictable cycles that can be calculated years in advance, demonstrates how cosmic processes operate with reliability and precision that make them suitable foundations for calendars, celebrations, and long-term planning activities that require confidence in natural rhythms and environmental stability. The resident who learns to anticipate meteor showers and seasonal constellation changes develops trust in natural order and cyclical time that can support patient approaches to personal development and community building that align individual efforts with larger environmental and cosmic rhythms. The mystery of why some questions remain unanswered and some phenomena resist complete explanation serves important psychological and spiritual functions by preserving sense of wonder and humility that prevents consciousness from becoming overly confident in its ability to understand and control all aspects of existence. The UFO sightings that appear without warning and disappear without explanation remind observers that reality contains depths and possibilities that exceed current knowledge, while remaining open to future discovery and expanded understanding. The balance between scientific curiosity and spiritual wonder that characterizes healthy responses to cosmic mysteries demonstrates how rational investigation and intuitive appreciation can complement rather than compete with each other in approaches to phenomena that exceed normal categories of explanation. The resident who remains open to both natural explanations and transcendent possibilities develops flexibility of thought and emotional resilience that can respond appropriately to unexpected discoveries and paradigm-shifting revelations that may emerge from continued observation and investigation. The preservation of mystery and wonder in daily life serves as antidote to cynicism and materialism that can reduce existence to purely mechanical processes without meaning or purpose beyond immediate survival and reproduction. The shooting stars that continue to inspire wishes, despite scientific explanations of their origin and composition, demonstrate how poetic and spiritual responses to natural phenomena can coexist with technical understanding without losing their power to generate hope, inspiration, and connection to transcendent dimensions of experience. The integration of cosmic awareness into community life through stargazing activities, celestial celebrations, and space-themed decorations ensures that residents maintain connection to universal contexts and eternal processes that prevent local concerns from becoming overly important, while providing perspective that can transform anxiety into wonder and isolation into recognition of connection to vast networks of creativity and intelligence that operate throughout the cosmos. The role of individual consciousness as observer and participant in cosmic processes suggests that awareness itself represents a fundamental aspect of universal creativity rather than accidental byproduct of purely material evolution, that the capacity for wonder, appreciation, and conscious intention may serve functions in cosmic development that extend far beyond individual survival and reproduction, to include participation in universal processes of creativity, communication, and conscious evolution that operate on scales both local and galactic. In the infinite expanse of night where shooting stars carry wishes to destinations unknown and mysterious craft, remind observers that reality exceeds all current categories of understanding, where constellations rotate overhead according to rhythms older than memory and individual consciousness, connects to universal processes of creativity and manifestation. Residents discover that the most profound teachings about existence emerge not from books or experts, but from patient observation of phenomena that connect earthbound communities to cosmic processes, revealing how individual lives participate in universal creativity, while remaining grounded in the practical requirements of daily existence and community cooperation that ensure consciousness continues to evolve and explore its infinite potential for wonder, wisdom, and connection to the eternal mysteries that surround and sustain all forms of life and awareness throughout the endless cosmos.